I met a gypsy.
We're on, mate. Broc Feeney, welcome to Gypsy Tales. We're doing it.
How are you, mate?
Yeah, good. Bring this bad boy up.
Yeah.
You don't have to sit into it. You can just bring it wherever.
Yeah.
Mate, how does it feel to race your first full-time supercars drive?
How many times do you reckon I was asked that on the weekend?
Yeah, over it. Let's talk about Supercross first.
Yeah, exactly. Get to the real business.
What have you thought of the season thus far? For Soupy?
Supercross? It's been sick.
Yeah.
It has been really cool. It's good to see the mix-up. It's cool that Eli's gone to Yami and Jace has gone to Cowie, and they've both gone better than where they have been. The first few rounds, I thought it wasn't making a difference for Eli because he was sort of just off the podium. But yeah, man, things have clicked, haven't they?
Yeah. It's probably one of my favorite seasons to watch in a while. 250 class is a bit of a bummer. I think we almost need to start having the conversation about making it one class instead of the East for West, because every single year it seems like the guys get hurt and it's like two dudes that are running for those top spots. But the 450 class this year has just been epic every single weekend.
I think though, if they did put the 250 class together, it'd nearly be like the 450s.
Yeah.
And it's hard this year because Colt got injured race one, Justin and Cooper got injured before the season, so
Jeremy Martin's now injured.
Yeah, there's some really good guys in there, but they're all just getting hurt. Or same as Jet, he's lucky he had Hunter that he could swap out for, but yeah, it is definitely the thing though. They sort of need to do something with it because Christian's absolutely dominated and Jet's absolutely dominated. Yeah. Obviously when we get to the showdowns it'll be cool, but...
And see, that's the thing. That's what we're living for. We're living for the East-West because the actual races themselves are kind of fizzling out a bit.
Yeah, but man, 450s. How good's it been?
Yeah.
Kenny's taking a break now.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
I don't know. It's hard to understand what's happening. I remember at A1, he came out after he won, said I've been crook heaps all December, and he put that video out. He could hardly breathe, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's at a rough trot.
Yeah, big time.
Is he going to come back? Is the next thing. It's all good to take a break, but you can tell he's enjoying being a dad. He's probably going to enjoy it more now that he's not thinking about motorbikes. So,
and I think too, he's actually had these big layoffs with injuries. So you see a lot of guys, say an Eli Tomac, hasn't really had to deal with that many injuries in his career. So he sort of never gets a taste of the good life away from racing, where you get to enjoy the fact that you've made heaps of money and you've got a nice place to live and you've got a cool family. You're sort of perpetually in that grind. Whereas Kenny's had these forced layoffs with these injuries and stuff to where he actually has got to sample what living a good life actually is like. He's sat out a couple of outdoor seasons and things like that. So yeah, maybe he's just done. But you got to think, I reckon if he didn't win that first round, it'd be so much easier to say he's not happy with the bike. He hasn't got the pace to do it anymore. But he won the first round by, it felt like 20 seconds, So obviously the bike's good. Obviously he can still go that fast. So it's either he's struggling mentally, which I could see as a possibility, or there's some physical stuff going on, or it's a mixture of the two.
Yeah, I think the hard thing is though, he's got Chase come in as, he's basically a rookie because he only did a couple of races last year. Yeah. And, Chase is a title contender. If he didn't have that crash a few weeks ago, he would be still right in the mix. So I think for Kenny, it's, before he didn't have the strongest teammates. Now he's got a kid that's come in that's smashing him. Yeah. He's obviously had a rough start to the season. It's where's he go from here? So there's a lot of questions, what's actually happened to him. But, at the end of the day, it's what he wants to do. And I suppose as fans, we should appreciate that and let him do his thing. But fingers crossed he does come back is the biggest thing for us watching.
Yeah, so it's crazy to me, the level though. I think visibly A3 was a sick example of the level that the top boys are running, because Ando threw the whoops. It was just rolling the dice. Every time he went through that whoop section, he was basically just rolling the dice of whether or not he was going to come out of it or not. That in the end was what broke Tomac off his tail, because Tomac's been like, you know what? I'm not going to risk it in this way. So it was Ando had those 5 laps I reckon it was maybe 5 or 6 laps of just absolutely kamikaze style through those whoops to get that gap to Eli, and then that pretty much decided the race. That's the first time in a while where, for me, watching a race, you've seen a guy go to that extreme to win.
Yeah.
So imagine being Kenny, and you know that that's what it takes to win, and you're not feeling it on the bike. Mentally, you're not feeling it, and then you've got some physical sickness. Basically, if from putting myself in Ken's shoes, you're looking at that and you're going, I can't win. Would be a crazy feeling.
Yeah, and for him, who's realistically had a shot at winning the last 2 years, and you could say nearly thrown it away. Like, he's had a great shot. Man, he's had a rough start. Like, I was looking at his results like last night, and it's like 13th, 7th, 13th, 8th. Like, this dude's top 3 every weekend. He's sort of been the consistent guy the last few years, and he's getting smashed. So, I mean, he's getting taken out turn 1 nearly every race. He's just getting put in bad positions. So it's hard to see. Like, a few times he's been lapped. Like, I know some things are going wrong, but it's been tough.
Well, he's been out of the top 10 more this season than in his entire career.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Crazy statistic.
But even like what you were going back before about Jace and Eli and that, it's weird seeing Eli. Like, I feel like he's already in championship mode nearly already. Yeah. Like, he's always that guy that just goes out and seems like he's just flat out the whole time. But it's cool to see him and Anderson go at it this year because, I mean, Anderson's just gnarly. He's like out of control, just hanging on to the thing. And Eli looks really calculated this year. So it's going to be pretty cool into the season, I think.
Yeah, no, it's been sick to watch. So we need to get you in for a companion. Yeah. I know you boys have been busy. But so have you been a lifelong moto fan because of your old boy, basically? So like I first knew your old man through the Husky thing way back in the day. So is that like, was moto your first initial kind of love, I guess?
Oh, 100%. So Dad was a professional superbike rider back in what would have been 70s and 80s sort of thing, and then went into selling motorbikes. So Kawasaki dealer, and worked his way up to import in Husqvarna and distributing it in Australia. So ever since I was born, I started riding motorbikes at 3. You know, we lied about my age to get on the racing at 3 at Mike Hatch's.
At the flat track there.
Yeah, the flat track. So all I did was flat track. I never did motocross. Dad sort of kept me away from that a little bit. But even before I can remember, I've been riding bikes. Like, everyone that worked at Dad's shop would think I was this little pest because I was, running around the workshop on push bikes or motorbikes, just causing chaos. But I still think I am more of a motorbike fan at heart, and I still feel like I'm a 2-wheel guy, but I've ventured off in a different path.
It's crazy because Ricardo's the exact same.
Yeah.
Like, he just froths the 2 wheels, and he probably follows that more than the 4-wheel stuff, and it's just like 2 wheels, 2 wheels, 2 wheels. But then the career path sort of just molded.
Goes in a different way.
Yeah, it goes into a different way. How did that come about?
It was weird. So, basically from 3 till I was 8 or 9. It sounds so weird talking about it because I was so young, but we were traveling the country doing all the flat track stuff. Running national titles and that. And I went really well in those years, sort of when I was on the 50s and sort of moving up, I was doing really good. And the whole plan was one day to try and, follow Dad's footsteps, go road racing and try and follow these guys that I've been idolizing for years. But when I was about 8, trying to think when it would have been, about 2010, we went to Thailand for a holiday with the family, and we went to the hire kart track on like the first day of the holiday, and basically every single other day of the holiday we went back to the hire kart track. And
really?
I've got an older brother as well, and we both loved it. We came back, and one of our mates, Shannon Wheel, is motorbike. Me and his young bloke race each other. He was good mates with a karting dealer, and they had to come and try a day on at Ipswich. So we went up first day, carved it up, loved it, was doing really well. So we bought a couple of karts, basically took him out to Mick Doohan's track at his house and did a couple of laps like that week. Then they sat in the shed, went back flat track racing for the rest of the year. Starting to get a little bit more serious in the dirt track now, like starting to move up. My brother was in 250s. I was sort of moving up to 85s and stuff like that. And then there was a race on at Gympie in 2012. It was like it was like the first week of January. We went there, did that first race. That was it. Bikes never saw the track again.
Really?
It was like, looking back on it, it's like crazy how it happened, because we were like heart and soul dirt, like flat track the whole time.
Yeah.
Always dirt track. And then it was just like that, and it was done. It feels weird looking back on it, but obviously it's hard to actually remember what I felt like, but I obviously just had that connection with four wheels straight away. And yeah, you know, in dirt track, you see a lot of people get hurt and stuff like that. And at a young age, I think it hurt Dad that we went four wheels, but at the same time, I know he looks back on it now and it's like, that's probably the best decision we've ever made.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that is crazy to just be fully bitten by the bug that hard and then just like drop it and go all the way into the four wheels. Do you remember the feeling that you had in the kart? Like, was it something that you just felt so comfortable or super connected, or I don't know, because there's got to be something that really just takes you over to drop it like that.
Yeah, it was for sure. I remember that first like come and try day at Ipswich. Like, don't mean to sort of pump on my tires a little bit, but I got out there and I was like smashing every other kid there, and it was just good fun. And I felt like I'm so lucky that I found my thing, because, you know, dirt track was going really well. I was enjoying it. But man, once I like drove a go-kart, I was like, this was my thing. It was like, it just all opened up. I'm like, man, I've found my thing that works so well for me. So yeah, looking back on it, I still don't understand how that transition happened so quick, but I'm so glad that it happened. But yeah, that first day was pretty cool at Ipswich, and I suppose it goes back to when we're in Phuket running around the hire kart track.
Yeah.
It's crazy thinking about it.
Yeah, man. I didn't know it was that drastic of a change for you.
Yeah, it's like if we didn't go on the holiday though.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'd be. That's like the craziest thing about it. It's like so many things lead to something, but if we didn't go to the hire kart track that day,
yeah, I
don't know what it'd be.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd be riding motorbikes. Maybe I'd be at uni. I'd just be maybe another 19-year-old kid, but I suppose we'll never know.
Yeah. Well, I kind of half thought that it might have been a case of your old boy knowing the injuries and knowing the stuff that kind of can go wrong in the two wheels, and then sort of just slowly shifted you into four, just out of safety almost. Because I think that's kind of the case with Jack in a way.
Yeah.
Is that Mick had obviously all these crazy injuries and knows the risk that goes into being a two-wheeled racer as opposed to this bit more safety of a four-wheeled racer. So it's like maybe he's just going, all right, let's just kind of go into this more safer zone.
Yeah, that definitely wasn't Dad's thoughts. Like, yeah, like now I look at it, he's so glad. And that's sort of one thing why we never did motocross. He was always,
the injury side.
Yeah, and he was always running race teams in motocross with Husky and that, and you're seeing riders get hurt and, you know, people that we're friends with getting hurt, and, you know, some really bad things happen. So that's why we always did flat track. And the whole goal was probably when I was about 10, like start getting into road bikes a little bit. So I suppose Dad sort of planned it out, you know, we'll do flat track until I'm old enough and then start doing road racing. But yeah, looking back on it, I'm glad where I'm at, because you see some of your mates getting busted up and it's pretty hard to see. But he still wanted me to ride. Definitely still wanted me to ride dirt bikes, and I'm sure it probably hurt him a bit at the time.
When was the last time you rode?
When it was schoolies for school, so 2020.
Really?
Instead of going partying, I went dirt bike riding with Seth Crump.
Yeah, sick. And you were flat tracking?
No, we went. I've got like family down in Braidwood, which is near Canberra, and it's just he's on heaps of property. So it's basically enduro loops, and it goes on to national parks and stuff like that. So we only rode for 2 days. We did a massive enduro loop and then sort of grass track and a bit of motocross. But it's been hard the last few years, to be honest. Ever since I started doing go-karting and got serious, the first few years I was still riding like probably once or twice a year. Doesn't sound like much, but once I started getting serious in karts, it's been lucky to be once every year. But before last year, it'd probably been 4 years.
Wow.
And like, that's just a pure safety thing for me and Dad as well, where I'm too worried about, and I know if you think about it, it's probably going to happen, but I'm too worried about going and injuring myself.
Yeah.
When I've got such big races, and that goes back to karts. It shows how serious we were back then. Like if I injured myself and missed a round in the national championships, it was going to hurt a lot. So it sucks because I want to ride dirt bikes a lot, and I'd love to try road racing and stuff like that. But I just really got to focus on the next few years, and then hopefully enjoy it a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's one of those things too, just the level, like the career path that you're at right now, like debuting with the biggest team, and it's pretty high stakes at the minute. So it's like, it makes sense that you don't want to fuck around.
Yeah, I can't do it. Yeah, it's a hard thing. And, that's been the tough thing over the last few years. And especially not knowing when you're going to go racing, it's been tough for everyone, obviously, the last couple of years. But my only sort of time now is as soon as the last race ends at the end of the year, I've got probably 2 or 3 months to, I suppose, enjoy it. But the way I look at it is I look at the worst case, which, because, when you're at a dirt bike, anything can happen.
Yeah.
Like, you just look at your period of time and, if I do get injured, how is it going to affect my racing? And sort of the way I go about everything these days. I've been a very boring person probably the last 6 months. Everything I do is just how could it affect my racing? So, you could say it's boring, but at the same time, I'm just trying to do the best I can to make sure, my racing career is first.
Man, it's funny. Like, I think that the last 2 years, man, I've pretty much locked myself in a bedroom and this studio and made YouTube videos and thumbnails and tried to, do this shit. There's a certain point, I think, where you make a decision, and if you can see a path for yourself and you know exactly what it takes to walk that path, then it looks really, really boring from the outside.
Yeah.
But I think that when you're in it, and you can see the path and you can see all the ways that things can grab you and distract you. So I know what you're saying about it. It kind of looks boring from the outside, but I bet it doesn't feel boring to you at all.
No, not at all. It just feels like I'm on the grind sort of thing, doing my thing. But it's weird. I'm like, I'm so focused on what I'm doing, but at the same time, seeing all these kids that I went to school with, they're out partying every weekend, and it's cool for me because I don't want to do that stuff whatsoever. But it's like, it's a weird part of my life because I suppose people look on these years as the big party years and everything. I'm like, I'm in the number 1 seed in Australia. Like, this is game time for me. So it's been pretty cool. And like yourself, you look at the last couple of years, and some people have really pulled through this time really well, and it's cool to see so many people killing it, like yourself. The podcast and everything. I've been watching all the videos for the last few years of people you get on. It's just like the guys I look up to and stuff like that. So it's cool to see.
Appreciate that. The party thing though, it's always funny, man. When you're I guess when you're younger, it's worse, right? So you think right now is like the prime of your partying.
No.
No. Like, trust me, young people think that when they're like 18, 19, 20, 21, that's like when you party. You don't even know how to party when you're that age. So you're actually like not missing out on anything. I reckon it's when you get into like your late 20s, early 30s, like that's when you actually know how to party. So you're really not missing out on anything. What you should be doing, this is what every kid should be doing. If you've got any interest in partying, fucking make heaps of money, stack your chips, get a dope life for yourself, and then you can enjoy it.
Maybe that's what Kenny's doing.
Hey, Kenny partied when he was younger. But like, I think a lot of people, they come out of school and they think like, I'll put my life on hold for a bit because right now is the time to party. And it's like, you should honestly do the opposite. You should not party for as long as you can. And then when you've got like a reason to party, like partying can turn into, I'm buying myself a 40-foot Riviera, and then we go out there and there's no phones and there's no receptions, and, so there's levels to partying. And so when you're a 19-year-old kid, going to Sin City is just not, it's not as good as it can be done.
I'm glad I don't enjoy it, to be honest, because it can be an addicting thing. It's a lot of people doing it, but suppose I'm so fortunate to be in the position I am that I've, got a great opportunity. So it's a pretty cool time.
Yeah, man, it's rad to be a kid that's your age and have, like you said, you found your thing and you have something to just really apply yourself heart and soul, because at the end of the day, like that's where fulfillment is in life, I think, is when you really find something that you're passionate about and then you just go all in. And for some people, that's not their job.
Yeah.
And they have to kind of do their job every day, and then they've got these things outside of their job. But when it can become both, and you can kind of mold your whole lifestyle around going forwards and, you know, kicking these goals, and it's what you want to be doing and it's what you get paid to do, it's a super lucky position to be in. So the fact that you realize it at this age and you're working towards it, it's just such a cool way to live a life, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I'm living my dream job at the moment, so it's pretty cool. And, you know, when I look on a lot of people that have become super successful, like sports people and stuff like that, for some of those guys, I didn't really find that till they were sort of early, mid-20s, and that's when they sort of kicked off their careers. So it's hard to look at it from the outside on myself at the moment, but when I do, I realize how lucky I am at 19 to already be in that position. So yeah, it's been a, you know, like talking about just before, I was 3 years old when I started riding motorbikes. Like, this has literally been my whole life, nearly every weekend, going to a racetrack. So to be here and, you know, looking at it, I'm so lucky to be where I am. And it's just been a cool ride, I suppose.
So were you always a serious kid about it? Because you kind of got to be. It's weird. I always find it interesting and weird at the same time when you get these kids that have that singular focus and they go, this is what I want to be, this is what I want to do. That's luck, you know. Like you don't really know why that's the way that you are, but you look at yourself, you look at Jack, Casey as a kid, you know, all these young kids that dedicated their life to something from such a young age. Were you always one of those kids that was just like super serious? I want to win, I want to do good, I'm going to be a professional race car driver?
Yeah, I suppose super serious is, you can look at it in a few ways, but yeah, ever since I was 3 years old, I wanted to be the best. And, you know, at that time it was a dirt track, and one day I wanted to basically be a MotoGP world champion. That was my dream as a young kid. But the biggest thing for me is, you know, Dad was mates with such a vast amount of top level people. You know, we're always hanging around with Mick, Casey, and Dad always put in my head from that young age, if you want to be successful at something, you got to put in the hard work. And, you know, it definitely, you know, when you're a young kid, you're sort of mucking around, you're enjoying stuff, but I was still serious about going racing and all that. But I suppose when I was probably 13, 14, that's when I think I took like a turn, and I started getting real serious about it. And that's when my results started sort of going through the roof. So yeah, before that, I was still, like, if I had a bad race, I was proper upset about it. Like, I'm not one that goes to the kart track and sort of mucks around with my mates and stuff like that. I was, you know, from day dot I started racing, I wanted to win and I wanted to make a career out of this. So the last few years, though, is, you know, when you start noticing, man, if you don't put in the work, you get left behind. Yeah,
it's so important to be around people too, from a young age. The people that you're around just shape your mindset and mentality so much. Can you think back at some of those things that, like, maybe Mick said or Casey said, or just like being around those people where things start to click when you're a kid? Like, oh, okay.
I suppose it's some stories that you hear, like that Dad tells, like, you know, he's been around those guys for a long time, and you know, Dad always talks about the dedication that Mick put in, and, you know, from where he started to, like, I just hear all the stories about his training. You know, he was the fittest guy out there. He worked the hardest, you know. On New Year's morning, he'd get up and be on the trainer like he's training. Like, the dude was like 100% racing and like absolutely demolished everyone. And Dad sort of like put in my head that, like, Mick.
Yeah.
And that's what you got to work to. And it's just cool that I'm mates with Jack, I'm mates with Mick. We've hung around for a while, but just seeing his attitude to everything and how serious he was about racing. And that's from a very young age. You know, we were traveling around all the go-kart tracks with Jack and Mick. Yeah. And, you know, he definitely put that into Jack as well, his mentality as well. So to see that and how Mick operates, not only in, you know, racing, but now as a father and looking after Jack's been pretty awesome. But even like Casey stories, like some of the stuff you hear is just hard to believe, like what he actually did as a young kid and always was a star.
Yeah, man, it is crazy to think about the level of commitment that kids can have.
Yeah.
Because you see, the Casey Stoner that is winning world titles, but it's like he retired at 27.
Yeah.
So you think about all the shit that he had to do as a kid to get to that point. There's just such a crazy level of focus and obsession and thinking about riding. And I mean, dude, I rode Phillip Island the other day, and it just puts into perspective how fucking crazy and how committed that dude was to winning. And same as Mick, you know, like just to go around those tracks the way that they did, it just takes just a not human level of focus and ability. It's pretty, it is pretty mind blowing.
It is for sure. And, you know, that's the thing though. There's Mick and Casey, but then there's also like another 20 dudes who ride a MotoGP that 1% less as good as those guys. So that's the thing that, you know, I've always tried to be, is the best.
Yeah.
And, you know, everyone does try to be the best and put in the hard work, but I think it's the guys like Mick and Casey, and I suppose you see the last few years Marquez and stuff like that, the guys that dominate the sport are just doing that little bit extra.
Yeah.
And all the other guys might feel like they're putting in the work, but these other guys are just going that extra step. And that's what I hear Mick did. Like, he was just out of control, putting in the work, always making sure it was way better than everyone at everything. And it's not just the one thing. Like, it's not just riding the bike or driving the car. It's a lot of things that add up. And there's a lot of things to make the full package.
Well, have you seen the Schumacher documentary?
Yeah.
Like, you see when Ferrari was struggling in those early days that he's with Ferrari, and he was staying in the team until 1 a.m., 2 a.m., you know, while they're at races, just trying to understand the car and make the car better. That's the shit that makes the difference. And it's all those 1%ers, those extra 1%ers, but anyone can do them.
Yeah.
But it's just that actual commitment to not go to your hotel room, not go back and relax, and not go and kind of do the easy things. It's like, just stay in the grind.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, you've seen the movie Rush with James Hunt and Niki Lauda. Like, James Hunt's so talented. He did end up winning a world championship, but partying, the girls, like all the cool stuff sort of thing. But then there was Niki Lauda, who was so serious, and he nearly knew more about the car than the team did. Like, he developed the same thing, Ferrari, and basically, you know, was working late hours to make sure that car was better so he could beat James Hunt. And it's just like two ends of the spectrum. You got a dude that's crazy talented, but he's just trying to enjoy it. And then you got a guy that's super serious. And one guy went on to win multiple world championships, and one guy won one. Yeah.
What's your version of those 1%ers? Because I'm sure you probably don't even know all of the ways in which you could do those things yet, because you're still so new to this class. I'm sure you're, over the next couple of years, that you're going to be able to get deeper and deeper and deeper into that rabbit hole. But right now, what are those 1%ers going to look like for you?
Yeah, I feel like I'm still way behind. Like,
oh, you will be
in my team.
Yeah.
Like, I've just replaced Jamie Whincup, who's the best to ever do it in supercars. So
yeah,
you just think of you just think of all the years that he's done and all the experience that he's got. I'm done one race, so I got a lot of things to catch up on. But the biggest thing for me this year has been my training. So, like, on the weekend, we had 2 300-kilometer races, Saturday and Sunday, and I'm used to doing like 30, 40-minute races. So, big difference. And that's been my, soul the past, from January basically 1 until the first race has just been on the grind doing that sort of stuff. But, there's some stuff becomes more natural, like the interviews and stuff like that. Some people may need to work on that stuff, but I feel like, definitely got to work on it 100%, but I feel like that comes a little bit more natural to me. But yeah, there's a lot of things, like stuff that I wouldn't even know about at the moment. Yeah. So there's a million 1%ers, I suppose you could look at. It's just about finding them and finding what works for yourself. Yeah, because
it's one of the reasons why I love doing jiu-jitsu so much, and then I love the podcast so much, is I always have just loved getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper.
Whenever you think you know it, or you got so long to go, don't you?
And I think that the level of fulfillment that you can get from something, for me anyway, the level of enjoyment that I can get from something goes up the deeper into it I get.
Yeah.
Like the more I learn about jiu-jitsu, the better I get at it, the more technical details, the things that I figure out, the fitter that I get, like just deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. I just love it so much more. And I just spent 6 weeks in Bali training every single day. And I was just like, fuck, this is so sick, because you're just learning these tiny little things. And it's almost like a nerdy obsession. But I think that I look at people that don't think like that. I'm like, oh, you're missing so much good juice, you know? Like the more you squeeze, the more you get out, and it tastes even better. But at the start, you don't know. Well, you don't know what you don't know. So it's like you'd be in this process now of like almost trying to look for these little things that you can do, you know, with the team, these little bits of data that really matter, this way that you can give feedback, and then the stuff with the training, and there'd be just so many things right now that you could actually dive into. Yeah,
for sure. And it's actually 4 years, like to this day, that I did my first ever car race. So like I look back on those 4 years, and if you asked me some questions 4 years ago, I'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? Where now, like, you obviously get a lot more in depth, and I still don't know so much about this supercar racing, and I'm, you know, trying to catch up, obviously, but it's that dedication. And, you know, like SVG is probably the one guy that you sort of look up to in supercars, that his life is like racing, and he's a hardcore racer, and
big time.
It's so cool to have that dude in my corner. And same, I got Jamie as well, but it's those guys that are fully dedicated about it. And just as what you're saying, you know, the more you go into it, the more you find out. So just trying to catch up at the moment. And
I think that, I can see some people where they almost want to shy away from that stuff because it's not, I don't know what it is that would make someone shy away from that. But there's definitely people in racing that are like, oh, I don't give a fuck about that sort of side of it. Like, that's not my job. Like, that's why I got these guys there. Like, there's a bunch of excuses that you can make not to do that. But I think if you look at the best people in the world, that's where they were at. You know, they kind of were those sort of guys. And, you know, you look at Casey. I remember one interview in like a documentary that I was watching before he did the podcast. One of his engineers said, I learned more from Casey than Casey learned from me.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, that's probably the dude you want to be.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, have you seen the some guy interviewing Conor McGregor read back a quote from like 2013 with him a few years later, and it's like, don't know it word by word, but it was something like Conor was saying, I'm like an artist sort of thing. I've lost my mind in this sport, basically, stuff like that, and I've gone crazy just dedicating my whole life to this. And when the guy read it back to Conor, like he'd obviously won championships in that time and stuff like that, and it's just like some dudes like dedicated their whole life to it. And I think that's the thing, some people are so obsessed with it and other people are obsessed with it. It's that extra little bit that some people go crazy with what they're doing, and all you think about is racing or whatever sport you're in. And it's the same. I feel so weird talking about it because I'm 19, but you see so many people that are so dedicated to something and they always end up doing really well. Yeah. So it's cool to see.
Yeah, man. And I mean, the fact that you're 19, like you've got what's like 15 years long service leave that you get at a company or whatever. Like, how long have you been racing now? You know, like you're like almost due for long service leave.
Yeah, I know. I've been doing it a long time. Yeah.
Just because you're young. And I think that there's so much that you learn like when you're kind of chasing stuff like this, you learn so much by losses. You learn so much by the hard times. You learn so much when things aren't clicking or you don't get this drive that you wanted or you didn't get this result or something happened. Like there's so much growth that happens when you are, you know, pushing yourself and living the kind of life that you've lived. And same with Jack, man. Like we hang out with Jack all the time when he's home. We talk all the time. He's fully like one of the boys with us. He's a kid.
Yeah.
And we're all grown ass men, you know? Yeah. So it's like the fact, and you're the same. So be able to just fit in with a crew of dudes that are in their mid 30s. Like you have lived a pretty gnarly life to kind of get to this point, even though you're young.
Oh, 100%. You know, my nan reminds me of all the time. How lucky are you, Broc? Like, I've lived an awesome life. I've travelled around the world racing go-karts and a little bit in cars as well. And man, I've just enjoyed it. And I think that's the biggest thing. I'm enjoying so much what I'm doing. I just can't wait to keep doing it into the future sort of thing. But yeah, I think young kids are sort of, clicking a little bit earlier these days, and you're seeing it in sports around the world. Like, just getting younger and younger and younger, and I think people are sort of understanding. Some people are leading the way when they come in young. Like Marquez came in as this young kid, won the world championship in his first year. Yeah, you're seeing Supercross now. You got Chase, you got Jet, all the young dudes coming in, and it seems like nowadays that people are clicking a little bit earlier and understanding that you've got to put in the hard work at a younger age. And everyone like Jet and that, they've started so young and they've just been on the grind the whole time. And I've got probably a little bit of criticism over when my announcement came out, this kid's, been racing for a couple of years. They're completely wrong. I've been racing for 15 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though I was racing dirt tracks at Mike Hatches or something else, I've been racing all that time. And it's very easy to say, no, he's not going to do the job. He hasn't done enough races. He doesn't understand what it's about. And yeah, I still got a lot to understand and that sort of stuff, but I've been putting in the work, you know what I mean? And it's not only myself, my parents. Every couple of weekends, for 15 years, we've been traveling the country, and it's a long road to get to the start of your career sort of thing.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you're a 10-year overnight success.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's how everyone sees it. You kind of burst onto the scene. But for anyone that's been really watching for a long time, and it's the same with Jack. And you guys pretty much come up at a real similar sort of time and similar age. It's like, oh yeah, you come out of nowhere, but it's like, well, not really. We've been putting it in for years.
Yeah, it's cool. Me and Jack, he started a year before me. It was actually, I think once I bought my go-kart, he was racing at Lismore and we went down and watched him. And then it was a few months later that I started. So it's been cool. Like, we sort of come out together. We still talk all the time. Like, he's messaging me over the weekend and that. But yeah, it's super cool that we both started at the same time, and our dad's mates as well. It's been pretty cool.
I think that it's sort of, I don't know whether it doesn't like take that to have a competitive rivalry and friendship or whatever, but that stuff really helps, man. Like, you look at where we grew up, we had Wade Hunter, Jackson Richardson, Mitch Evans, Wilson Todd, Todd Waters. There was all these boys. Like, Mitch is now in the World Championships. Wilson Todd was in the World Championship. Jats has run 2 Supercross Championships. Todd's multiple-time champion, race in Europe. So it's a cool thing when you've got these like group of guys that kind of come up together and they can stay friends. It doesn't turn into like a weird rivalry. I'm sure you and Jack had times of like really pushing each other, but to stay mates through it all. And then, because you end up going into different directions. Like, he's in F2, you're in supercars, but to have someone that kind of understands what you've gone through, understands where you've come from, it's actually a pretty rad thing to have in your corner.
Yeah, it's sick as, but there's certainly testing times, but it's pretty cool that we're still mates. And I'm still sort of really good mates with the guys that were my hardest competitors, from the day I started karting. The kid that I raced my first ever go-kart race with, Lockie Hughes, like, we're still like really close mates. And it's crazy. Like, we did our first ever go-kart race together, and all these years later, we're still mates, and he's been one of my hardest competitors, same as Jack. Yeah. We've always been, going at each other the whole time in karting, and we're like closest mates now. So I think as a competitor, you want the hardest person to push you, and you're so similar that you end up being mates.
Yeah, true. Like, you're obviously both into the same thing. You're like the same sort of DNA almost.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I feel like, you're both putting in the same amount of work. You're both doing the exact same thing. So, of course, you're sort of going to be good mates.
So, was the pathway to you, did you always want to do supercars, or did you want to go to Europe and do the car thing over there? Like, in your mind, what was the pathway that you wanted, and what's the pathway to end up in V8s?
Yeah, I did want to go to Europe, like, for sure. And, if you ask any kid in go-karts, what do you want to do? They're all going to say, like, I want to go to Formula 1. It's a pinnacle and stuff like that. and the end of 2017 was my last year in karts. Won the Australian Championships and got the ticket to go over and compete in the World Championships over there. Went really well. Got on the podium. Was the first Aussie to do it. Then went to Portugal, raced there in the Rotax World Championships. Same thing, went well, bit of bad luck, and then Vegas finished P2. And that was for me like, man, I can run with these kids, and these are the guys that are now racing in F2, F3, that sort of stuff. And then when we came back to Oz, that was a hard time for me because I realized that we couldn't go to Europe, that it wasn't going to be possible for us.
And so what's the limitations there? Like funding?
It is. And I seriously take my hat off to people that do probably risk it,
Yeah.
It's very easy to be hopeful from the sidelines and think that you're going to get picked up and taken through. But look at the Lawrences and like Casey and that, like sold up to move over to Europe. Like that's a big risk. And definitely take my hat off to those guys. But at the time, me and my family realized that we'd be better to focus on Australia and focus getting to supercars. And look, it's still been a tough ask and been a hard few years, not for myself, but for my family as well, who's been, helping fund this and dedicating so many years to it. But yeah, initially, I wanted to try and go race F4 in Europe, but yeah, it was going to be hard. It was going to probably be a year and then would have to come back to Australia. And it was like, where do we go from here? So focused on, went and sat down with Paul Morris. He had a whiteboard. He wrote, this is what we're going to do. 86s, Super 3, Super 2, main game. He said, how much were we able to spend? He said, we need to get through here as quick as possible. And from then, I did 86s for a year, won races, did Super 3 for a year, won the championship. Did 2 years of Super 2, which was broken up massively. It was 3 in the first year and 5 in the second year. So it was sort of like 1.5 years of Super 2 and then main game. So we got through that as quick as possible, basically. And we did every step along the way. But yeah, that in probably the end of 2017, I realized, okay, my whole focus from now is getting to supercars.
Has anyone ever done it like you've done it?
No.
Really?
No.
Yeah, I don't know that I've heard that story of, not that I'm that immersed in that world, but that sounds fucking crazy. So you only did 8 Super 2 races?
Yeah.
Damn.
So yeah, Will Brown did 86s and then he did 3 or 4 years of Super 2, then main game. I was lucky, Super 3, I think it was the first year and one of the only years it was called Super 3 was the year I did it. And there was 5 or 6 really good guys in there. So I did 86s, did Super 3, won that, did Super 2, won that. So there's only one big trophy for me to go. But I think the biggest thing for me was I was in Super 2 for a short amount of time and then sort of stepped up.
Yeah. So how much would it have cost you to go to Europe to do Formula 4?
Hundreds of thousands.
Really?
Yeah. The biggest thing that we looked at is it's all good. Well, not all good to do that, but you throw a lot in to do that. But then the next step's 2 times or 3 times that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, you got to look at the big picture and, we looked at what was going to be best for us and, how we can get there. And Australia was 100% the best decision we've probably ever made was, sticking and trying to get to supercars. And I'm so glad, driving a supercar is the coolest thing ever. I drive GTs and stuff like that, which is awesome, but there's nothing like getting in my supercar. And I think I could nearly rate that compared to most cars around the world.
Really?
This car that I drive at the moment is probably one of the coolest things that I reckon you could drive in the world.
That's so sick. Do you think that because now that you're in it and then I've been spending a bunch of time riding with SVG and then go way back with Chazzy, I've never really fully followed the supercar thing, and I think this year's finally the year that I'm really gonna try and invest some time into it. But do you think that people don't really look at the supercars thing as a pathway? A young kid like yourself, do you think that most kids are kind of just looking outside of Australia always, and people aren't giving supercars the clout that it deserves, maybe? Or
yeah, for sure. If, as I sort of said before, as a kid, it was F1. Every single kid in the paddock's I want to be an F1 driver. And for sure, honestly, I'm so glad that those kids are aiming for that, and I hope that some Australians do end up achieving that. And we got some great kids over there at the moment. But the biggest thing that I want to try and do over the next few years is, you know, help give these younger kids an opportunity to get to where I am. And I've sort of done a good pathway, and I think that's a perfect pathway to go. You know, 86s out of karting, Super 3, Super 2, it's a perfect pathway.
Yeah.
It's like Moto 3, Moto 2, Moto GP,
yeah,
but with a year of like Junior World Championship or something like that.
Yeah.
So I just hope if there's any young kids watching, there's a pathway to get to supercars, and it is super hard, and you got to put in the work, you got to get good people around you, but I think there's now a clear pathway on how you can get there.
Yeah, I think that's super cool, man. The fact that you kind of have laid out a little bit of a pathway, because you just, I mean, I guess, like I said, I'm not super in it, but you just don't hear that many kids that are just frothing to get to supercars. Yeah,
for sure. And you know, it's very easy as a kid. You look over and all your idols are racing overseas. You know, or idolize Danny Rick and stuff like that, and Verstappen, all those guys, they're all racing F1. You know, all the guys that we want to be is all F1 drivers. But man, being a supercar driver is a pretty cool life. You get to race sick cars around Australia. It's awesome, man. Now look at Scott McLaughlin, like carving it up in the US. Like, he's now opened another door for us to try and go over to America, and you know, that's something one day hopefully I might be able to do as well.
Yeah, man. No, it's definitely cool the way that you've done it. And so the 86s, can you pull up a photo of those, or like what do they look like, those cars? What would you try?
Maybe Toyota 86 Racing Series.
How much does it cost to race a season of that shit?
Probably anywhere between 50 to 100,000 probably.
To do a season?
Yeah.
Do they have TV
It seems
time?
like a lot, but honestly, that is way cheaper than go-karting, what some people do in go-karting.
Really?
Yeah. People are spending big money in go-karting.
So these race at the V8 Supercar
All
weekends?
Supercar rounds. So they do 5 or 6 rounds. And they're with us on the weekend. But the best thing about this series, and like Morris sort of got me into this, was you're racing at the tracks. So you're learning all the tracks in your first year. You're racing in front of all the big team bosses and the racers. And they do watch. Like, I'm always watching these races. All the guys are still watching these races. And you're learning to drive a tin top car that is very similar. Like, the technique you use in these translate all the way through. So, straight out of go-karts, that's what I jumped into. And yeah, man, some of my best days were racing these. Like, really? It is good fun. You go to Townsville, you go Bathurst, you go to some cool places, and there's like 40 cars on the grid. Yeah. And that good hard races. Like, it is hardcore. If you know you're doing good in that, like, you're ready to go up to the next step.
That's so sick. And so what kind of motors and stuff, like, are these things?
This is literally a standard Toyota 86 with suspension, wheels, and brakes. That's and obviously roll cage and like kitted out inside as a race car. But
so it kind of is just like a rental car race series, basically.
Yeah, it's just like the Toyota 86s you're driving on the street, but with the suspension and brakes and safety equipment.
So this is what I need to get in.
Mate, you could do it. The Gypsy Tales Racing.
I'd love to.
Honestly, that racing, like, that is... There's some kids now coming out of it, and I'm hoping they've seen what I've done and they try and follow my footsteps and go 86 racing, because it is awesome. It's
cool that you think like this, and you've even got the foresight to say, like, I hope kids are watching, because it can be done. Like, I don't even think a lot of people would have that mentality in your position to want to be that guy for people. I think that's just cool in itself.
Yeah, I don't know if I am that guy, but I love trying to help out some young people. And ever since we're doing go-karting and we had a bit of a team going, I was always trying to help the younger kids. And I've been an instructor at Norwell Motorplex, so I've been coaching, and my biggest soft spot is trying to help the guys that have just come out of go-karts and get them into car racing like this. So I'm always watching this because I got so many people I've helped out in it. But I suppose my big goal one day is, and this is probably going a little bit further down the track, is I'd like to be able to do something like Valley's got nearly with his VR46 Academy, and try and do something like that in Australia and help these guys and create a clear pathway and try and help some of these guys, get up through the ranks because, as I said, I think there's a pretty clear pathway now to get to supercars.
Yeah, and so do you think that, because supercars is a weird one, again, me not knowing a lot about it, but you see so many people like Peter Adderton, for example, like I follow him on Instagram just because we're sponsored by Boost.
Yeah.
And he's just always criticizing the championship, which, I mean, he will try to buy it and shit. Like, I know there's a bit of a backstory there, but do you think that V8s is like done right, and there's so much more room for it to be bigger and better than what it already is? Like, do you almost see the potential that it's got to be a way bigger and better series in Australia, even though it is the biggest series as it is now? But I don't know, can you almost see like a better future for it in a way?
I mean, I think every series you look at can be so much better, but we've got the new Gen 3 cars coming in, the Camaro and the Mustang. Like, I think that's a good step for the series, but Pete, Paul Morris, they're probably the two standout guys that are getting young talent.
Yeah.
Paul taught me how to drive a car 4 years ago and brought me all the way through. Pete sponsored me along that journey because he trusted what Paul said.
Yeah.
And now Pete's looking after other young kids as well. So those two guys are doing a fantastic job for Australian motorsport. They're really giving young kids an opportunity. And, I thank those guys a lot because they gave me a massive opportunity and helped me get to where I am. But I think the biggest thing is obviously you want it to be as big as it can, and you want it to try and be a massive sport in Australia, and NRL and AFL are sort of the shining light for us here in Australia, and I'm hoping that one day we can try and build supercars up to that. But I think one way to do that is like younger kids.
Yeah,
and
just fresh talent.
Fresh talent. You look at what Jet's doing to Supercross, like this is his third year, but man, has he created a lot of followers for Supercross. And you look at the fans that he's getting to the track, they're not normal. They're not normal Supercross fans. He's getting a lot younger crowd. He's getting girls coming to the track.
So is that why you're training so hard? So you're trying to get ripped and so you can start doing some TikTok videos?
I'm trying to win races. I'm certainly not going to do his TikTok videos. But, it's all that stuff that's good for the sport. And like the people, like I saw him hanging out at round 1 at A1 with Madeline Klein and that other dude from Outer Banks. Like, these guys are famous people, and I think that's what we need to try and do in the sport. And I think young kids got that bright thing about them. And we got some superstars in our sport at the moment. Obviously Shane, you got Chaz, who's different to everyone else, and it's not something that I focus on, but I really want to help try and build like this championship as much as possible and get it as big as possible. So then hopefully people start realizing how good supercars really is, because we got such a good platform. We race at the best places in Australia. We race at street tracks, we race like Gold Coast and stuff like that. Just, I feel like it's so close to being that big thing. And I think over the next few years, it possibly can turn out to be that big thing. And I hope supercar drivers get recognised for who they are and what they do.
Yeah. So what do you reckon is like holding that back? Like, where could it be better, do you think?
I think it's just trying to get fan engagement. Like, you need people to go to the races and watch it, and you need it to be entertaining. That's the big thing why we're going to these new cars, the Gen 3, is to try and help the racing, try and help the overtakes, because it is quite difficult at the moment to overtake another car. And it's the same you've sort of watched in F1 the last few years. It's been hard to overtake, and it makes the racing not as fun. But you look at those guys, they've created Drive to Survive, and man, has that created some fans. Like, that is out of control. Like, you go on TikTok these days, and it's just all these people that are like making TikToks about F1 because they watch Drive. There's so many fans. And I think maybe when he was on your podcast, Daniel, saying like he gets recognised for being on that series more than he does an F1 driver. Yeah.
Well, he was saying, I remember when he first, because he's got his place in LA.
Yeah.
And he first got to LA and we spoke, and he's like, dude, it's fucking crazy now. Because that was kind of the place that he went to not get recognised. Like, whenever he's in Europe, it's very like fandom kind of deal because of how big F1 was in Europe. So so LA was his place where he got to go and enjoy just kind of a little bit of anonymity. He's like, dude, it's gone. Like, this is fucking crazy now.
Yeah, and you look at Austin, the F1 Grand Prix in the USA last year. You look at,
Mental.
I think the last time they raced there, I don't know the exact figures, but like I saw a photo of the crowd and massively spread out. You know, there was still a lot of people there. Last year, sold out. You could not see a patch of grass. Like,
Wait,
that
try and find a photo of that. Just like Austin F1 2021. Yeah.
It is crazy. And like, that is all because of Drive to Survive.
And all that is just showing real people.
Yeah.
Showing real personalities, showing real people, showing like the real shit. Because you know how fucking stressful the racing stuff is.
Yeah.
You know that.
Look
holy shit.
Like, now
Dude,
that's proper.
That is wild. I didn't see these photos.
Yeah. Like,
I've been there for a MotoGP and it did not look like that.
Yeah.
I was there in like 2017 or something.
and like,
That's hectic.
everyone you talk to, like, so many people come up to me, not one interest in racing. How good is Drive to Survive? They're like, that is so cool. When you watch it as a real race, you're like, oh, it is awesome. There's a lot of stuff in there that's like a little bit twisted.
Yeah.
But
who gives a fuck?
yeah, it's creating fan engagement. And in Australia, the last couple of years have done the Inside Line, which follows one team. So 2019, they did Erebus. 2020, they did Walkinshaw, which is just come out at the end of last year. And last year, they actually did Red Bull, like our team.
Yeah.
So they fought, which was a great year to follow for them.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of stuff happened. Jamie left, Roland retiring, me getting the promotion, stuff like that. So that's awesome, which is really good. It would be so cool if they could do like a mini series of this sort of thing. I think like it needs a big,
Surely
it needs a big
thinking
budget,
about
and
it.
the only way that I sort of think that it could maybe happen is if KO did something like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's a sports streaming service for Australia. They do all supercars. If they could find a way, maybe just like one weekend you follow Red Bull, one weekend you follow Shell.
Yeah.
And just try and, I don't know, we need to think outside the box because these guys have absolutely killed it.
Well, so you know that Netflix had the editing rights to this.
Yeah.
So
okay.
so F1 didn't have a say.
Yeah.
That's the key difference in all this, because anytime that you get like a Supercross Life or whatever that was going on,
it's
that Supercars goes, oh, this is, we can't say this, we don't want any swearing, we don't want any of this, oh, you can't have that, this sponsor conflict here, and it just waters down the product. And so with Netflix, they had the production company, and Netflix would like, okay, we can, this is the footage that we get, and then we have the editorial rights to this. So once it's done, it's done. And I think that's why ended up being so good, is because if F1 then got to tinker with it, take this out, take that out, take that out, you just don't know the moments that you're left with and the moments that you're missing, you know?
Well, you look what Danny Rick said. I'm not going to repeat what he said, but Netflix are a bunch of... And they put it in. He's like, they're never going to show that. Yeah. But they did.
Yeah. And it becomes one of the most iconic lines of the entire series.
Exactly. And you look at F1 and it's just... the way you think about it, especially a couple of years ago, it's businessmen in suits. Like, it's a billionaire sport. Now you look at it and it's like everyone loves F1, and we had such good year last year in F1. Like Drive to Survive comes out in like a couple of days.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. Like I know I'm going to be doing tomorrow is watching it, but it's creating so many fans. Like all these girls, especially, like you're seeing so many more girls come into the sport, that are obviously idolizing these F1 drivers. Like it's
thirsty.
It's cool, dude.
I love it.
Like, there's so many people like interested in it now.
Yeah, and I think that it definitely could happen in V8s. Like, it's, you know, smaller scale, you know.
Yeah.
But I think that the MotoGP version of it comes out on like the 24th on Amazon, which would be pretty sick. I mean, surely the V8 guys are thinking about it, and they have done a good job over the years. I definitely watched the broadcast though with the V8s, and it looks real old to me. Like, I think like all the footage is sick, the way it's filmed and stuff, but in terms of like the broadcast itself, it definitely feels the same as when I was a kid watching it. So I feel like it never, at least for me personally, it just never really changed that much. So I think that there's probably some stuff that they could do from a broadcast perspective that would probably keep me a little bit more engaged.
Yeah.
But again, it's like, you just don't know why that stuff doesn't happen. There's always reasons, I guess. But I guess for me on the outside as like a kind of casual fan, that would be one of my kind of criticisms of it.
Yeah, like honestly, every sport, there's so many things you can do. And maybe what I just said about making a Drive to Survive sort of series on supercars as a whole, maybe it's not the right thing to do, but there's so many things that we can do, and we've just taken new ownership in supercars. Race has just taken over it. There's some really good guys in there, and this next 12 months we got a new CEO as well. This next 12 months is like, okay, let's see what you guys can do, and sure they've got some great ideas to hopefully improve it, but I think it's about getting to know the drivers a bit more. And the new owner, Barclay Netterfold, I believe his name is. I think he came out and said, okay, we need the drivers to be household names. Yeah. Like, we need these guys to be the Nathan Clear, the Jonathan Thurstons, Billy Slaters, the household names that everyone sort of knows. And you start following those guys. Like, you become in love with the football players, the Supercross riders, the MotoGP guys, the F1 drivers for them. Yeah. And we need to understand a bit more about who they are. So I'm excited to see what these new owners do, because hopefully they can build that sport. Like, it's in a great spot at the moment. This is trying to be constructive criticism, and it's not even really criticism. It's just hopefully new ideas that can keep building the sport, because we are in a great spot. I just hope that we can, keep building it and show people like how cool this sport actually is.
And I think that, you say like, I hope the new owners, and it's like, yeah, that's one part of it. But there is absolutely no reason why the drivers themselves can't start right now.
Yeah, 100%.
Jet has gone outside of Feld, and like they've taken meetings with Feld to be like, okay, this is what we're doing. Yeah. Do you guys want to be a part of this? If not, we're doing it anyway. Holding their own press conferences, creating all their own media. Like, there's a lot that you can do to kind of skirt the system in a way. Like, there's no favoritism for Jet in Supercross. Like, they really haven't done that much for him. No. Jet's done a lot for himself. Yeah. There's a lot of people, and that takes like confidence in yourself to go, fuck it, I'll be the man, because it's going to bring criticism. And you've got you've already got a taste of that criticism of like, he's only been raced a couple of years, doesn't deserve this ride. Cool. Yeah. Fuck it. Just walk forward. Just be like, yeah, I'm here. I'm doing my thing. So, I think that there's way more of an opportunity for drivers to just step up and run their own shit without permission and start to build, their own brand equity. Like Matty's been doing Chaz's social media stuff for like 6 years. Yeah. He's so ahead of the game when it comes to that. And that's a guy that is super popular. Like, he took it on himself.
One of the faces.
Took it on himself from a really early on in his career to just go like, fuck it, I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah, and I think, we all got to do that, and there's some people that might want to do it more than others, and like Jet is honestly probably the perfect example. Like, he's a young kid that's just killing it, but he's the fan favorite by a country mile. Like, every time he gets on the mic, the whole crowd's cheering. And then you hear the other guys on the podium who are thanking their 20 sponsors, and great, they're doing their thing, but they get a bit of a cheer when Jet gets on. The whole crowd goes wild. He's throwing his goggles and everything into the stands. Like, everyone loves him, and that's some of the stuff that we need to try and do better as drivers and try and interact with these fans. So, my head is focused on racing, but there's that tiny little bit in the back where I'm thinking, how can I do better in myself by promoting this? And like, taking people behind the scenes and showing them a little bit of what we do behind the scenes, I think something that could be really cool. And that's not only like what these guys like Netflix and like sort of what we spoke about before, if Supercars did a behind the scene on the series. We do need to take that responsibility, like you said, and try and do better for ourselves. Like, social media is like the golden ticket these days. And I think, if you do build that big platform, you see like TikTok these days as well.
Yeah.
You can become a big person just by, making videos and posting photos. So, and we do cool stuff as well. Like we do sick stuff.
Yeah.
I've been trying to like build my TikTok and stuff like that, my social medias, and it's just about showing people what they don't see on the TV, which they love.
And like just the real version of you too, like the thing with Jet. I mean, he's like, you can't just copy what he does, but what you can copy is how willing he is to be himself.
Yeah.
Like he'll post a TikTok dancing with his shirt off.
Yeah.
Not saying that's what you need to do, but it's like whatever your thing is that you just think is cool that people might go, fuck, that's so lame.
You just got to be yourself.
Post it.
Yeah.
Who cares what subset of the population is going to think that's lame or not cool? Because you don't know who you can potentially speak to. And if it's just stuff that you're genuinely interested in, then that's what you should go and do, Yeah,
you just got to be yourself. Like after Saturday's night race, I put a photo of me giving a thumbs up to my camera. Said my first race is done. That was like one of my biggest posts, just me putting a thumbs up. Like it's people love that more than looking at a picture of my car, which they've seen 1,000 times. So that's just a little thing, but it's stuff that people don't normally get to see. I think that they like, and I think we all need to do better.
Do you get in and like reply to DMs and stuff like that?
I do try. I try to reply to as many people as I can. A couple of years ago, or even last year, it was a lot easier.
Yeah.
Start getting a lot more now. But when I'm at the track, I try and try and sign as many things as I can, talk to as many people as I can. Every session on the weekend, trying to get from the garage to the truck was getting harder and harder. There was more people coming up, but the biggest thing for me is if I see a kid out there that wants me to sign something, I'm 100% going to go and sign it, because I was once that little kid, and I'm still a massive fan of the sport. You know what I mean? Like the guys that I'm racing are still
the guys you look up to.
Guys I've like sitting on the couch watching a few years ago. So I'm trying to interact with the fans as much as possible. It's a bit of a hard one at the moment because we're still trying to be nice and careful with everything going on.
COVID shit,
but any opportunity I get, I want to try and give back a little bit that I can.
Yeah, the thing too with the social platforms is you're trying to build yours, right? So right now you're in a position where the Supercars Instagram or their platform is like bigger than yours.
Yeah.
So just leverage that.
Yeah.
Tag them in everything that you can. Like you can just guerrilla market yourself, and they're gonna want more content. So it's the kind of thing where you just go and you just start doing your thing. They've got this big platform. They're gonna share yours. Yours is gonna grow. Interact with more people. Like the roadmaps. The roadmap's there. It's just a matter of really showing people. Yeah, I just think it's all about being yourself too. Yeah,
for sure. Like the platforms are there. We got all the platforms at the moment: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and I think one that's probably that some of us have forgotten about a little bit is YouTube.
Yeah.
And like how successful that can be. Like your clips on there are awesome. Like with the guys you interview and stuff like that. Like all that sort of short, sharp stuff that you can watch and learn something or find something funny. That's the stuff that we all want to see. So it's, I'm saying this as well. It's all in front of us to do better.
Is there any drivers on YouTube in V8s?
I don't think so.
Dude, get
I
off.
know.
Dude, what?
I know.
Spend some cash.
The best thing about me this year is, like last year when I did my announcement, I got Maddie to come and like sort of vlog it for the day. Like we drove down the beach, rocked up.
Oh, that's right. Thing. Yeah.
People like that stuff, and now I've got the opportunity to do a little bit more of that stuff, and there's some stuff in the pipeline that working on with Red Bull and a couple of other guys to try and help my sponsors as well, but give the fans a bit of an insight of what goes on, because I might think could sometimes be boring, like my stuff in between races, but other people might find that awesome. Yeah, well, I mean, look at what like Christian Craig's done with his vlogs. Like even dude Jeff Walker was probably like, I don't know if you've ever seen any of his content. He's just a privateer in AMA that is like barely gets points, but he had this dope YouTube channel,
posted a bunch of GoPros all the time, spoke over it. He just kind of found his own lane.
Yeah.
Man, that guy now is fully lives off his YouTube channel, does these cool bike builds, like, you know, and it's fun too to engage with like a cool community and build that channel up. I mean, dude, if there's no V8 drivers doing the YouTube thing, like that's your
watch out.
Yeah, that's your ticket right there.
I just look at the Degans, what they've done. Like,
Dude,
have they not absolutely crushed the market? Like with that, you know, you see Chad trying to do it.
Yeah.
Like you can tell who he's trying to follow there.
100%.
But like, yeah, it's, man, like honestly, the Degans, man, they've absolutely crushed it.
Yeah, man.
Like you look at all their kids now, and I started trying to watch a few videos here and there, but it's just so cool what they do. Like filming at the track, they got Eli there and they're filming some of his stuff, but you see that progression all the way through. Like you saw, everyone, Haley, Danger Boy, like from when they were younger, and now they're like,
it was almost a novelty then too.
Yeah.
You were just like, oh, this is kind of cool.
This is cool. Now it's like, oh, like,
you're in.
Yeah,
like,
they're in. Like, I think racing trucks.
Yeah.
Danger Boy's like soon pro sort of thing. Like, it's just cool. And the coolest thing what they did is they started so long ago that people have jumped on this journey with them.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly right. So, you know, by anyone starting their YouTube, like let's say you start your YouTube thing and then you're doing that, there's a group of people that are invested in you. They've put this time into you. They want to see you succeed. They're telling their friends about you. Like there's a really that community deal, man. Like you just cannot underestimate it. And it's even that with me now, like I just had the guy, we just started our Europe studio, and we had the Stark Varg, you know, that new electric bike. No. Have you not seen that thing? Oh, show him a picture of that. Fuck, it's insane, dude. So anyway, this guy, it's like the Tesla of motocross now. Yeah. But anyway,
maybe I have.
Yeah,
I think I have
seen
a video of it. Yeah.
But he come on the podcast and his comms manager was like, "Oh, what sort of rollout and trailer?" And I'm like, "Mate, we don't need to do nothing. Like, I'll post the podcast. Everything gets the same. Like, there's some will get a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like a Casey or a Danny Rick, but they're just they get hundreds of thousands of views. Yeah. Because it's been going so long.
Yeah, people follow.
That there's so many people. They're just invested in the podcast. It's their thing. They're a part of the Gypsy gang, and it will just continue to kind of do its thing as long as the podcasts are coming out.
Yeah.
You know?
Every time you put a podcast up, I see like everyone tagging you in their stories. Like everyone's watching it. You know what I mean? And I think that's the biggest thing. If they feel like they're a part of you or a part of the journey, it makes it so much better. Yeah.
So, I mean, for you, like you've just got this prime opportunity to give people a look from day one.
I know. That's the best opportunity, I think, with me. And like, this is the beginning. You know what I mean? And if I can try and take people a little bit through, that's something I certainly need to look into.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, look at that thing.
Yeah, it actually looks sick, doesn't it?
It looks sexy. So it's
like a Honda.
It does look like a Honda. There's they can make the plastics and stuff so sleek because there's no radiators or exhaust or anything like that. They can actually make it totally different. I'm going to Spain in May to ride it.
Shit.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Proper.
Yeah, and then I'm going to the Formula One right after it. They've just timed it.
Barcelona?
Barcelona.
Cool.
Which is going to be sick. So you go from the 86s and then into the Super 3. So what's the Super 3 car? Can you pull out one of those, Alex? Do they just look the same as like a...
Yeah, so it's like a 2010 sort of supercar. Like I think it's like 2008 to 2012.
Yep.
I wonder if it'll come up. Yeah.
So it just looks the same.
So like they're on an FG and a VF Commodore, so FG Falcon. Yep. Yeah, there's Nash Morris. That's his Super 3 that he ran last year.
Yeah.
And then when you go to Super 2, it's just the next step up. So Super 2 can be up to 2017 spec. And then next year they go to the cars that we're running this year.
Yep.
So it's honestly like you look at Moto 3, Moto 2, it's like a big step every year. Super 3, Super 2 main game, it's a lot closer, you know, to explain it better. So it's just an old supercar. Every year, a bit more downforce, a little bit better equipment. So it's nothing major. You know, it's probably a second a lap.
Yeah, I was going to say, where are we at lap time-wise?
Yeah, Super 3 to Super 2 is probably half a second to a second. And then Super 2 to main games, sort of similar, half a second to a second.
Are you running the same sort of tyres and stuff?
Same tyres, but normally the main game run like a softer compound. But yeah, it's cool because it's so similar.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we've got such a good opportunity, because if you're killing it in Super 3 or Super 2, there's no reason that they can't keep moving up.
Yeah. So what was it like driving wise to go from a kart to the 96? 86. I'm just 96 CR. I'm just 96 is my vintage. To go into the 86 from a kart, is it a massive difference? Like to talk about the progression and what it's like to actually make that change.
Yeah, it is, but you know, you still see some guys that are good in karts, are good in cars, and then some people that weren't as good in karts, sometimes good in cars. But the best thing, like for me, was going to Paul Morris and going to Norwell. Like,
it's a cool facility.
Now, man, like if you don't go there, you're crazy. And especially coming out of karts, we train in the 86s. That's all we train in out there, and we teach how to change gears and how to be super quick. Like I was an instructor there last year. Shane goes out all the time, and you're just teaching people every single trick you know. So for me, I got fast track because I went and got coached by Paul and Robbo out there, and you know, I did a few practice runs, and yeah, as I said, 4 years ago I was on the grid in New Zealand for my first ever race, and that was only after a few days in a car. So yeah, there is definitely differences, but if you go see the right people and don't get bad habits early, it makes it a lot easier.
So how does Norwell work? Because I've ridden there on the bike, but I've never done the car thing. So just anyone can go there and drive? Yep, anyone can go.
So basically, if you go onto their website, they've got the 86 program that you can go and do, which is more like if you want to, I suppose, learn some more car skills and stuff like that. It's anywhere for if you just want to go out and drive for half a day or a full day, you know, learn some more stuff. To a professional race car driver.
Yeah.
Then there's also the V8 experience, which is like you go do your 5 or 7 laps in a V8. And that's just more, you know, it's more novelty, like a present thing. Yeah. You know, you give someone a gift card to go do that. But the 86s, you know, sometimes I coach like 70-year-old, you know, men or something like that. Other times I train 15-year-old kids.
Yeah.
Shane's out there all the time coaching New Zealand kids. He likes doing that. And
so does he, like, you guys get in the car?
Yeah, we're in the passenger seat.
Yeah.
No, just sitting right next to each other, and just talking each other through it. And then we get in and do a lap, and we got all the data. So it's the exact same as basically a supercar, but just at normal Motorplex in an 86.
That's so sick. I need to go there.
Yeah, it is cool because, like, we don't hold anything back. Like, I think that's a good thing about, like, the kids that I try and help out, that I help, like, out there. You just show them every trick you got, and then they can look at your data and they see every single thing. So it's like, okay, you need to work on this. We go back to the computer, 100%. That's exactly what you need to work on.
Wow. So Paul Morris basically kind of took you under his wing and was like, all right, you essentially got to be like a kid with a track in his backyard almost, and you got to go there and pump out the laps and learn from him, and then you got to then coach people, because I think being a coach is super underrated. Like for me, I love coaching in jiu-jitsu. It's one of my favorite things to do because I have to think so much more about what I'm doing, because there's so many techniques that I've done 1,000 times and that's worked for me 1,000 times, but I've never had to break it down to somebody. And as soon as you break something down, the steps that you do, and it's so easy to see steps that you miss or a step that you could do better. I think it's just so underrated.
Yeah, you honestly couldn't have said that better. So, like, taking you back a little bit, like, Dad's known Paul before I was born. They were good mates. And then me and Nash, his son, basically were born the exact same time. So we've grown up together. We went to school together, always hanging out with Paul. And then basically when I finished karts in 2017, Dad rang Paul and said, January 2018, said, hey, Broc's going to go car racing. We spoke to him about the 86 series. He said, yep, come up. I'll pick you up. Never forget the day. He said, yeah, I'll come pick Broc up in the morning. I'll take him out and teach him how to drive. He walks in the front gate. I've got my whole suit bag, my helmet. I'm like, oh, hey, Paul, how you going? What do I need to bring? He's like, nothing. Get in the car. I'm like, okay. Drive out to Norwell, jump in one of the Commodores out there. He jumps in with me for probably 10 laps, then jumps out, just lets me drive around for like half an hour. Then another kid who was just starting there as an instructor got in the car with me. We did a few laps, basically drove out there for the whole day. End of the day, Paul's girlfriend Karina rocked up. He goes, Broc, teach her how to drive manual. I'm like, fuck, I only learnt like a couple of hours ago.
Oh, so you'd never driven a manual car?
Never driven a manual till start of 2018. The first day I went to, like, you know, I sort of mucked around with stuff like that, but never properly on a racetrack.
So what's the gears in an 86? Is it like literally just a H pattern box?
6
wow.
H
Okay.
pattern. Yeah. So, yeah. And then sort of fast forward and did a few days, did races, raced the 86 series. At that time, I was doing a mechanic.
So how'd you go teaching her to drive?
Yeah, all good. She's still learning. But I was doing a mechanical apprenticeship, like school-based with Dad as a mechanic. So he had the karting business at the time. I was racing 86s, so every Friday at school, I'd go work with Dad. And then at the start of 2019, Dad sold the kart business. So he said, hey, Paul, is it okay if Broc does the apprenticeship with you? So we just transferred that over to Paul. And that's when I started racing Super 3. And I raced with Paul Morris. So I raced in his team.
Yeah.
So I worked on my car in 2019 and did driver coaching as well. So
that's so sick.
It was cool. Like, honestly, all this stuff is why I'm here right now. So yeah, worked on my car and then did coaching. As you said, the biggest underrated thing ever. So in 2019 and 2019, 2020, and especially last year, I was like coaching.
Yeah.
So I was doing my apprenticeship, but most of the time I was like teaching people how to drive cars, and especially 2020 during that COVID period, we were driving a lot. Like when we could, we were still out, you know, coaching and stuff like that. And man, that makes a big difference, because when you're telling someone who's, say, half a second slower than you, oh, you need to be a bit smoother on the brake, you need to be a bit smoother on the steering wheel, and then you get in and you're being a bit rough, you got to think, I'm like, these guys are paying to learn off me.
Yeah.
You need to make sure you're doing a better job.
Yeah.
And, you know, 2020, 2021, I developed massively. All that coaching, like, made such a difference.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, Paul took me under his wing like another son, basically, and still got a really close relationship with him, and we still talk all the time. But yeah, gave me a great opportunity, introduced me to RD, Roland Dane, and that, like, so much stuff has happened just from being at Norwell. Like,
yeah, right.
Like, the stories just go on and on and on.
That's so cool, man. That's seems like such a, I guess, hats off to you for being willing to do an apprenticeship and to be willing to work on cars. And there's a lot of people that, I guess, if you're a young kind of superstar, up and coming, you know, guy, that there's a level of entitlement that could happen there to be like, I just want to drive the car.
Yeah.
I just want to do this. I just want to do that. I don't want to do all this other bullshit. But it seems like you really embraced all aspects of just the whole automotive experience. And even, I mean, you've even been in at Sammy's warehouse before, like packing orders and shit like that, you know? So it's like, there seems to be a working ethos that you've got, like you're just down to do the work. Yeah.
And, you know, my dad's the hardest worker I know. Like,
yeah,
when I'm at home, I feel like the laziest person ever if I'm not doing something, because he's out doing the yards, he's doing nans, like, he cannot stop. And I suppose he's always, like, I've always been at work trying to help him out when motorbikes and karting business and stuff like that. But yeah, you know, Paul's helped me out so much, and, you know, made sure I did all the right stuff. You know, I was working on the car, and, you know, he made sure I was doing the coaching and got all these great opportunities. Like, the only reason I'm driving a supercar with Red Bull is because we went racing XLs with Roland Dane one weekend, and
yeah, right,
I drove him home from Sydney, and that's how the whole thing like, it's so
really?
Much simple stuff that adds up.
It's just relationships, man, eh?
Yeah, 100%.
So you, because I could see then that would be quite impressive to a guy like Roland Dane to see a kid that was putting in the kind of work that you were out at Norwell. And, you know, so it's sort of, because I think maybe that's a little bit of the narrative at the moment, is this just people don't really know how you got this seat. Like, you've got this insane opportunity to race for the best team, the best car, and there's probably a bunch of people out in supercar land that are just like, how the fuck did he get that job? But there's so much, I guess, that's going on behind the scenes that maybe people don't know about. Yeah,
it's crazy, and like the story's pretty cool. So we went racing at Sydney Motorsport Park where we were on the weekend in like little XLs. Like,
so what do they look like? What would you type in there?
Hyundai Excel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
HYU.
Come on, Griff spelling bee.
Yeah, Hyundai Excel.
Race car.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, just click on this red one down.
So that's like your first iRacing car.
Sort of. Like this is like basically can be your first step. So this is even like before 86s.
Yeah, okay.
So when I was doing 86s, I wasn't getting enough racing in. So we bought an XL car for like 12 grand.
Yeah.
It's the cheapest form of motorsport.
It's a 450.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we went racing that. So even last year, me and Dad built one ourselves and we went racing it just to keep racing. So even though I was doing Super 2 and racing stuff in main game, I was still racing this. And yeah, so me and Nash, we went down to Sydney to race. RD came with us. I won in Sydney, and then on the way back we had a little minivan, and it was me, Nash, RD, and one of the other guys, and Paul was with us as well. And I drove, I think I must have been on my L's or my P's. I would have been, red P's. I drove, so we went from Sydney to Port Macquarie that night, drove the whole way, and then the next day I drove the car to the front door, picked everyone up, and then drove all the way home. So I drove the whole way from Sydney. Doesn't sound like much, but I was just a kid on my P's.
Yeah.
Didn't complain once, sort of thing. And that's how it started. Like a month later, Paul pulled me into his office and said, "Hey, RD called me. Jamie's going to retire at the end of the next year, and he wants you to replace him and wants you to drive Super 2 for him next year."
Wow.
And it all started because I drove from Sydney to Gold Coast without complaining, and it's crazy.
That is so cool, man. So I guess when you have that conversation with Paul Morris, what starts turning in your head from there?
It was end of September 2020. So we hadn't gone to Bathurst yet. I was co-driving with James Courtney with Tickford, and I was still with Tickford in Super 2, and they were trying to get me to sign for next year, and we were like, are we going to go anywhere else, sort of thing. And Paul called me, same thing, I'll never forget it. I walked in the door at Norwell. Paul was like, "Hey, Broc, need to have a chat to you." I'm like, "Oh, what have I done?" And he's like, I wasn't going to say anything before Bathurst, but I've spoken to your dad, and he said, we might as well tell you. He said, had a call from RD, and he said, Jamie's going to retire at the end of 2021, and he wants you to replace him. And I nearly fell over. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, yep. And he wants you to race Super 2 for him next year. You do a wild card at Bathurst, and then you'll replace Jamie if you do a good job. And what was I? I was 17. And I'd done 2 Super 2 races, had a shocking round 1, qualified P2 at round 2, but still stuffed up the starts and stuff like that. And RD saw my potential, and just as what Paul told everyone and that. And then I went out at Bathurst, did a decent job. I crashed my Super 2 car, but then I had a really good run in the 1000. And then we're at Kingscliff quarantining for 2 weeks. RD wasn't there, but we sat down with Simo, and he basically said, this is what's going to happen. And as soon as we got out of quarantine, went and signed the contract. And it's crazy. I was a 17-year-old kid, and I got told I was going to replace Jamie Whincup if I did a good job.
Dude, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and the thing was last year, everyone was talking about it, especially once, I got announced I was a Triple 8 driver, then I got the Red Bull car with Triple 8 on it, and then it was Jamie Whincup's retiring. Everyone's like, are all these pieces, for Broc to take over Jamie? And then went out at Bathurst, won, then swept Townsville, and then, it was a couple of weeks after Townsville, I got the call from RD to come and see him, and yeah, got told I got the drive.
Wow. So how long was it all done before it actually was public knowledge?
So
I guess
no one really,
kind of a little while, in a way.
Oh, yeah. Not many people know about it, but because RD, the start of last year, like there was a big reshuffle. You know, he was pulling out. Jamie was coming in. Tony Quinn was coming in. We sort of did a thing, I think just after Bathurst, saying like, basically, if Broc does a good job, we just needed something on paper. If Broc does a good job, he'll replace Jamie. If not, we might have to do another year of Super 2. Then there's the option to replace whoever goes in, sort of thing. So there was something.
It's risky to let somebody take that drive for a year, replacing Jamie, if not for you. So there is pressure to perform in a way.
Yeah, I knew if I did a good job, I could get the seat. If I did a terrible job, I would not have a chance of getting the seat. So they always said, look, every single driver in pit lane wants this drive.
Yeah.
If you do the job, you've got the drive. So there was a rough thing saying, you know, if I did a good job, I'd get it, and the decision would be made by December.
And what was a good job?
Well,
Don't put it in the wall.
RD told me at the start of the year, he said, you don't have to win the championship. He said, but you need to do the best that the car can do. So the Nissans in Super 2 have been really competitive and they've dominated the last few years. And everyone's told me if you're not in a Nissan, you're not going to win the championship. Now, everyone thinks if you're not in a Triple 8 car, you're not going to win the championship.
Yeah.
So, yeah, last year I came in, RD said, look, if they're way quicker, and you finish P2 in the championship, that's not the end of the world. Went out, won the first race, got a penalty in the second race. So I was P2 in the championship after round 1. Then we had like a few months off, probably 4 or 5 months off, and we went to Townsville 2 weekends in a row. First weekend, fastest every practice, every qualifying, smashed it. Next weekend, won overall again. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Now this is what we're talking about. I was like, okay, this is going to be pretty good. But I still didn't think the decision was going to be made till after the 1000, after I did the wild card. Couple of weeks went by, got a call from RD. He said it was like early. It was weird. It was early in the morning. It was like 7:30 or something. My dad had his AirPods connected, and for some reason, the text message from my phone went to Dad. And Dad come run up. He's like, Broc. He's like, you just got a message from RD. Call him. I'm like, hey, RD. And he's like, Broc. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you need to come and see me today. I'm like, yeah, I got a training session, but I'll be up about 1 o'clock. I was shitting myself. I was scared. I'm like, fuck, what have I done? I was like, I couldn't figure out what I did. Like, he sounded like it was an angry voice. I'm like, oh my God. And I went up there and he said, you all right? And I'm like, yeah. And we went and sat down in the office. And within about 10 seconds, he said, yep, you've got the drive. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I was freaking out. And he kept talking for about 5 minutes. And I didn't even get a chance to say anything. He's like, is that all right? I'm like, fucking bloody oath, it's all right. Like, that's awesome. So yeah, that was a cool day. That was a day I'll never forget. I think it was 26th of July. So there was a bit over 4 weeks till the announcement got made.
Yeah, right. And how was it keeping it quiet?
I feel like everyone knew. The hardest thing for me was, it was fine. Like, I did not tell anyone. My mum, my dad, my brother, and my nan knew.
Yeah. That
was it. And Paul Morris knew. I got out, called my dad, was like in tears, called mum, and then I called Paul Morris, and he's like, oh, how good is this? He's like, I knew a week ago.
Yeah.
I'm like, you what? I'm like, I didn't even. He's like, no, I had to keep it quiet. But it was all good. And then they released Triple 8 or Rebel Ampol Racing put a post up saying 31st of August, we're going to release it.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, oh, fuck, you got it, aren't you? It's you. People are sending me messages. Oh, do you want to go for a game of golf on the 31st?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll see what I got on.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of people knew, but I, swear to God, did not tell anyone. The night before, I rang my sponsors and told them what was happening. But, yeah, that stuff, I make sure I would hate if there being a slip up.
Yeah. Fuck. And so how's the pressure, or what does it do to your mentality? Because there's 2 ways you can go. Heaps of pressure, freak you the fuck out.
Yeah.
Or heaps of pressure, makes you super excited, gives you extra confidence, and then you just step up and be like, I'm the fucking man.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's any pressure from the outside. People are saying there's a lot of pressure on me this year, but realistically, if you look at it, there was a lot more on me last year. You
Yeah.
know, the job was mine if I did a good job. I was a Red Bull car. I had
Here's the
AAA.
ball. Don't drop it.
Yeah, exactly. In Super 2, I had all this great opportunity in Super 2. And so looking at it, there was a lot more pressure on me last year and, you know, won the championship. But I put more on my, like, not pressure on myself, but I expect a lot from myself, you know. Even in this first year, you know, I don't expect to be like where I was on the weekend. I was running P2 and ended up P11. Like, I was devastated. Yeah. I'm like, that's not where I want to be. Like, I want to be up the front in the mix. So, yeah, I don't think there's any pressure from the outside. It's more just internally where I think I should be.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. And I think that that's probably the move, you know, like and you're not going to get to where you want to get to if the pressure of a drive can be something that can rattle you. Yeah, exactly. And, you know, as I said, I think there was a lot more on me last year than there is this year. It's sort of just go out and do your thing this year. And, yeah, I suppose I don't really like feel the external pressure. Yeah. So are you a bit bummed in a sense, and this is not to take anything away from the current crew at Triple Eight, but are you a bit bummed in a sense that Roland Dane isn't like the team manager still? Because he's kind of like the Mitch Payton of V8 Supercars in a way, right? And like, it's like there's so much knowledge there from that guy. Yeah, like... Again, not like Jamie Wincup's not a fucking animal. Like, it's awesome to have Jamie in there, not a doubt. But like, it's weird because the last few years, all I've dealt with is RD sort of thing on this note, like trying to get the drive. And now I get the drive and he's sort of... Yeah. He's gone, but he's not gone. Like, he's still hanging around. He's still at the workshop a few days a week. So I still get to talk to him, still on the phone to him every once in a while. So even though he's not at the racetrack, like, he's watching every... Like, you know what I mean? He's still there for me. But... I think like he's, you know, you look at Jamie and all that, but he's one of the most dominant guys in the sport, and he didn't drive. Yeah. Like, he's a hardcore dude, and that's the thing that I love about RD is he will tell you exactly how it is. Yeah. There's no bullshit whatsoever. It's if you did a good job, he'll tell you you did an okay job, and if you did a terrible job, he'll tell you did a terrible job. Yeah. And I think any strong competitor loves harsh criticism. You don't want to be pat on the back when you did a bad job. Yeah, no, 100%. So then what's the transition like going from essentially just working at Norwell as a apprentice mechanic and a driver coach to full-time racer? Towards probably September last year, my driver coaching and that sort of got washed out at Norwell, and that was like when I was focusing for the 1000 and everything like that. So, but yeah, started this year, a lot more PR stuff, I suppose, but it's nothing like out of control. Like, I probably thought it was going to be a little bit more than what it was, but going to the workshop, you know, a couple of days a week. But as I sort of alluded to earlier, it's the training is the biggest thing for me, and that's the biggest focus I've got to put on. But at the same time, it's hard to believe, like, getting paid to go race cars, like, that's just still blows my mind that's happening. Like, it's out of control. But it's my job to do a good job, so that's why I put the expectation on myself to do well, because I know this team deserves to be doing well. And it's not one of those things where, I guess it's kind of like well, I don't know, I never went to uni, but it's kind of like when you're in school and you've got like, okay, this is the class you got to go to, then this class, and then this class, and then this class, and then this class, and then you're just out in the big bad world. Yeah. And you're in a weird position as a driver to where it's like you've got an employer that they pay you to race for them, but then it's kind of up to you to schedule your program and get yourself ready in a sense. Like, yeah, you've got the testing and stuff for the team, but most of the time, like, it's up to you to just like to try and do what you can to win. Yeah, I suppose when you look at it, it's like your school years are sort of up to Super 3, Super 2 sort of your uni years. Yeah. And then you finish Super 2, finish uni, and it's like into the real world. Like, it's it's pretty hardcore, and at the end of the day, the responsibility is on me. Yeah. The team don't go, hey, you don't need to be in your training session at 1 o'clock today. That's up to me. Yeah. And I like that. I enjoy it. It gives me more time now. Like, I'm not focused on anything else. Like, my 5-day week, everyone goes, what have you been up to? I'm like training my ass off. Like, that's my job at the moment. Like, wake up, go for a PT session, and then I'm cooked for the rest of the day. You know what I mean? I go through my emails, go through all my stuff, and looking after sponsors and stuff like that. But there's a certain thing that we got to do as drivers, and that's something that the team
we take responsibility for.
And have you enjoyed the process? Is it a big step up with the testing and the, like the data and sitting in on meetings and all that sort of stuff? Because I'm sure that's at a completely different level to Super 2.
Yeah, 100%. That is probably the biggest thing, is like the debriefs, but the length of depth that you go into. And I feel like that's the biggest thing that I need to learn and understand this year, is how to make the car fast. Like SVG is really good at understanding what the car's doing and how he's got to make it better, but I don't exactly have that full experience, obviously, that he has. But I need to put into my documents every single thing that I feel in the car, everything that needs to be better. And like, we've got a debrief tomorrow, and we go through every single session, every single change, and that's where I need to make sure I'm giving them the right information to make sure that we're going forward, and then we're not, going backwards or staying at the same level.
Is that shit overwhelming a bit at times?
I don't know if it's overwhelming, but it's something that I've got to put a big focus on too.
Yeah.
It sounds like, for me, driving the car's pretty simple sort of thing. It comes natural to me, but it's how you make the car fast. And like, there's another 24 drivers that are trying to beat me and beat everyone else. They want to be champion, but it's about, how much effort you put in, and not just driving the car, but understanding how to make it fast. And compared to last year, that's a big difference. Like, now it's like you're talking hundreds between every position. Last year was a few tenths.
So for people out there that might be full V8 supercar nerds that are listening and would just give their left nut to sit in on a debrief session, what's some of the stuff that you guys are pulling apart and dissecting, and changes that get made, and then what does it kind of amount to? Like, is there anything that sticks out in your mind?
Not really. Probably just stuff that no one really understands. And
I bet there's some people out there that freak on it.
I still struggle to understand some of it. Like, honestly, some of the stuff they go into is like very in depth. Like, obviously just talking about setup changes that you go through and understanding what they did, but then you're trying to develop the car as well. And it's a hard one for us this year, because we've got the new car coming in next year, and our team is developing that car. So a lot of our resources are going to next year, but at the same time, we need to make sure that we do a good job this year. So I suppose, I don't know, it's just going in about talking how you feel like the changes are made.
So what's a kind of change that you'd make on the weekend that is like significant?
I suppose springs in the car, you like change spring rate. So you might go to a stiffer or softer spring. You got roll center, ride height. Like when I watch Supercross, I'm like, oh, it's so cool. Like, sort of not how simple it is, but how much less there is to do.
To change,
Yeah, like our cars are out of control how much we can change. Like, it's endless. Like, you can change hundreds, probably thousands of things on the car. But that's one thing that I really enjoy about watching like Supercross and stuff like that. And they come
so
in,
much more man than machine.
Yeah, exactly. But there's a lot of things that go on in a debrief.
Well, that's what Danny said. He said that, man, you look at Supercross testing, he's like, I wish.
Yeah.
He said, we have thousands of things that we have to go through. And like the laps that they did at the first test, doing hundreds of laps. I can't even imagine all the shit that those boys had to change, eh?
And, they got all the simulator stuff that they like test and develop their items on a simulator. For us, we don't have anything like that, but we only get 3 test days a year. So as a rookie, I get an extra 3, but like...
Oh, that's cool.
Like a Supercross rider, they ride every day of the week.
Yeah.
Like a moto rider, they finish Saturday night, Monday morning, they're back at the track. We finish a race meeting, we got to wait another 6 months till another test day sort of thing. So it's, it's a tough one for me. Like, trying to develop and get better, you nearly just got to wait till the next race meeting to do it. That's something that I love so much about like motocross and Supercross, is that they're doing it all the time. And, that's when they put in the hard work, is every single week they're on the bike, and you appreciate that because that's what they're doing every week. They're riding and developing and stuff like that. It's cool.
So did you basically just hop in a copy of what SVG won the championship in? It's like, that's what you're starting with, or what's the car that you start with from round one?
So every track you got to set up basically. So every track's different. But we basically roll out with the same car, and then we figure out where we go. But we're normally pretty close. We say the same things what the car is doing, which is good. You don't want 2 drivers that are completely different, but we follow what they did last year sort of thing, and any things that we've learned in between. So like next we go to Tassie, we're probably just going to roll out with what they had at Tassie last year. Maybe just a tiny little bit different from what we learnt over the past 12 months.
Yeah, right. So you're fairly lucky in that sense that you got a pretty good base setting underneath you every time.
100%. Like if you roll out of the truck fast, you're normally going to have a pretty good weekend. And we know like most of the tracks we've won at, or the teams won at. So when you roll out, you got a car that's going to be very close. If you roll out with a bad car, bad bike, and you're chasing it all weekend, the result's not always going to be there.
And how much time, are you a guy that likes to spend a bunch of time in the sim?
Yeah, not as much as SVG, but yeah, I do like the sim. Not as much like probably this year or something like that, but still need to try and upgrade it a little bit and get a bit better equipment, because you just need to try and make it feel as close as possible. Yeah. So I've still got some old stuff on my sim which I need to upgrade, which hopefully I'll be able to do in the next couple of months. But yeah, you want it to be as similar as possible. But normally before I go to every track, or if I'm going to a new track, I'll spend loads of time on it trying to learn everything.
What is SVG driving V8s in the sim most of the time, or is he just driving other cars?
Everything. Yeah. And it's the same with the V8 on the sims.
It's not really
real.
Yeah.
So it's hard to do that, because you know how close it what it actually feels like, and you know what it drives on the sim, and it's like it's quite different. So we probably prefer driving other cars, and you see Max is always on his sim, so all the best guys in the world are still using it, but probably not driving what they actually do.
Yeah, that does make sense, eh?
Yeah.
Because I think like the GT3 cars and stuff, they're so much closer.
Yeah, for sure. And like that's the stuff that we probably drive on the sim a bit more, as the GTs, and even like the Mazda MX-5s, like the slower cars, but they're sliding around, and probably more mucking around and stuff like that with it, but you're probably learning a little bit at the same time.
Yeah. So this first weekend, what were your expectations? I know you were running second in the second race, and then you finished 11th. You're a bit off that, but like, what were your expectations coming into the weekend? Was it everything that you kind of thought it would be? Because obviously, like, you did the 1000. It's not like you haven't done a supercar race before, but people were making a big deal out of it. Obviously, you got the seat that everyone wanted.
Yeah.
How was the weekend?
It was okay. Like, ticked a lot of boxes. Didn't have any real, like, a number set for the weekend, but I made both top 10 shootouts, which was, that's a big tick for me. And then in the second, like on Sunday, I qualified P4, which was pretty cool. But yeah, the Saturday night's race was good. It was hard conditions all weekend. Like, it was raining, it was dry. So it was a Saturday sort of race was sort of my first proper time in the dry in that car there. Had a bad start, dropped back to like 13th, 14th, and got back to 9th. I was like pumped with that. I'm like, okay, first race done, P9, moved up a few spots from my average first lap. But then Sunday, like, started P4, got a good start, third, moved into second. And like, that was cool, man. Like, battling for the lead of a supercar race, that's stuff that you dream about, sort of thing. And I was there in my second race, so that was awesome. Like, ended up 11th. Obviously, I'm not happy about, which I'm happy that I'm not happy about it. Like, even I was speaking to Dad yesterday. We sort of had our family debrief sort of thing, and he's like, when I walked down and saw you after that race and you were upset, he said, I was glad. Because I was so happy that you were so upset. Because he said, I would have been devastated if you were happy with that result, which is the exact way I'm feeling sort of about it. So got caught out with a couple of things. I need to improve on a lot of things, but I think collectively as a team we can definitely improve going in the next round. But it's a benchmark for me. Like, I feel like this year there's no reason why we can't be battling for podiums and hopefully some race wins as well.
Yeah, so I didn't see the second race. So what was the reason to go that far back? Like, why'd you suck so bad?
Yeah,
basically?
I know. Jeez, I did a terrible job. There was a couple of safety cars, so I'm glad we got debriefed tomorrow, so I'll probably be able to give a better description after that, because I still don't completely understand what happened. But there was a couple of safety cars, and I got a bit caught out with that, not really with our strategy, but we were in a pretty good position without the safety car. And then when the safety car happened, all the guys behind caught up, and they had super soft tires. So we had super soft and soft tires on the weekend. So I did super soft in the first stint, and then I was on softs for the rest of the race. So as soon as the safety car finished, there's a really cool video of me and Will Davidson battling.
Where's that at?
It just be on Supercars website.
Go on that, or like their Insta, or
yeah, if you just go to supercars.com, it should be a video on that. We had a mad battle. Will was on super softs.
Oh, Wilbur.
And there was like a few behind me that were on super softs, and I'm like, fuck, I need to defend from these guys, but I was trying to go forward as well. Maybe keep going. There's me.
Oh, look at him, the great man.
Yeah, there's me taking my dad. Keep going. Maybe just click more videos.
Go there, up there, Griff. More videos. Down, where you were.
Yeah, there. Yeah.
Go on, mate. You got it. You got it. Click. There it is. Where is it?
It's close. There we go. Just here.
Yeah, let's watch this shit.
This was cool. Like this was just like in my second race. I think this is the biggest thing that I could take from the weekend. Everyone was, it's hardcore racing there, and I'm not trying to make it out that I'm a rookie, but like people are going to try and push me around a little bit, which is fine. But I tried to stick my ground as much as possible. Like my car looks pretty average after it. There's heaps of scuff marks and stuff on it, but it was.
What's going on here, Griff? Fucking ads. We need an ad blocker.
Here we go.
Turn it up a little bit.
So this is after the first safety car. So I'm in about fifth, but Will and the guys behind I got super softs on.
Yeah.
So realistically, I needed to get ahead of these two guys to keep my race hopes alive, which was hard because I was trying to defend and trying to pass at the same time.
Will's driving good, eh?
Yeah, no, he's doing good. He's very consistent last year.
Yeah. So that's your on board up top.
Yeah, and him down the bottom.
So how much is it? What's the difference of the differences like the super soft versus the softs?
Around there, probably half a second.
So you can really feel it.
Oh yeah, it was quite a big difference. So we decided to run it first, thinking that the rain was going to come, which it actually did come in the first stint, but we ended up staying out.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is where my race went wrong. So I needed to get by these couple of guys in front of me, but I didn't.
What was it was just hard to make the move?
It was hard to make the move, but I was trying to keep Will behind as well.
Yeah.
And once I got in a battle with Will, I dropped back a bit.
Yep.
And then, a lot happened. If you maybe skip forward like 10, maybe, I'll just go back a little bit, sorry. Yeah, about that. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, so once you got a guy that's right up your ass, you've got to play defense and offense at the same time.
This is where it happened. So he tried to drive me straight off the track. I'm like, stuff that. So I just kept the throttle in and just drove straight into him.
Oh, the fucking boys.
Yeah, that was hardcore.
That's sick.
And then Cam Waters got in on the battle.
Oh.
So then I had to drive,
Fucking look at you.
Try to drive Will off the road.
Yeah, I missed all this second race.
Yeah, I had this with Will for like another few laps and then had another few hardcore battles.
So is any of this like, do you think any of this is because you got the drive and it's like hey, welcome mate?
Oh, there is definitely some of that stuff, but I don't want to sound soft by saying no, like it's just because I'm a rookie. But like the racing's hardcore, but there was definitely, some people trying to prove their point.
Yeah, because there's people that want that drive.
Oh, everyone wants that drive.
Yeah.
It's sort of the number one drive in the sport. So, people are trying to push me around, but I think they're going to do that anyway. But my biggest thing was just trying to prove that I'm not going to back down. So, car looks no good, but I probably proved to a couple of people that if they want to get in a fight with me, that it's on. I'm not going to let them through, sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean there's some there's some real driving taking place there to keep your car on the track, because it would be pretty easy to bail out of that, right? Go straight, get run off the track, pull back in.
Yeah, for sure. Like,
are they still going at it?
It's still going. Like, he's just driving straight into me. Like, it's just all the stuff that usually happens, but Yeah. Like this was after that first safety car, this race was all on for me. And
Really?
that's when it started going backwards a bit.
Yeah. And so I guess looking back at it now, like, are you pumped with how you dealt with it? Do you think you could have done things differently or better?
Yeah, I definitely think I could have done things differently. I needed to pass Scott Pye and Will Brown in front of me. If I got through on those guys, the race still could have worked out a lot better for me.
Yeah.
But like same time, trying to defend from Will, it's my first race. Like there's plenty of things that I need to do better next time.
Yeah. And what was the team? Were they pumped that you stayed in the fight and you were giving it to the boys?
Yeah, everyone was like, oh dude, Broc's racing hardcore here. Like yeah. Honestly, the fan like reaction from the weekend was really, really positive.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
Like not something that I would focus on, but
no, it's a good metric.
Yeah, it is good. Like I was getting heaps of messages and like comments on my stuff, like saying, "Dude, you race so hard. Like you're gonna have a great year. Like future champ and all this stuff." Like that's just cool to see. Like because I feel like it was not a good weekend, and a lot of people are seeing the positives out of it.
Yeah, that's so good. And I mean, what was I guess. It's a hard balance because you're in the moment and you're trying to just do your job.
Yeah.
But then is there any time over the weekend to just reflect on how rad it was that you're a V8 supercar driver for Triple Eight?
Yeah, I mean, like now is the time, you know. I've just sort of got back home. You think about it, but I look back on it like, man, there's positives. Like 2 top 10 shootouts, my first weekend done, didn't crash, got points, top 10 in the championship. So there's positives to take out of it, but like I said, I don't want to be a 10th guy. You know what I mean? That's not where I want to be. So there's positives, but there's things that I need to improve on. I'm not going to say negatives. I'm just going to say things that I'm going to learn from and do better next time. But it's cool. Like I'm getting paid to do what I love. I've got people coming, maybe not just to watch me, but there's people wanting my autograph. There's people wanting photos with me, and that's crazy to believe. Like people actually want to get a photo with me. It's like, what are you talking about? Someone at the airport came up to me yesterday. It's like, oh my God, I'm a massive fan. I'm like, who are you talking to? I'm just a kid.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. And so then you went from there to Phillip Island.
Yeah.
What were you doing there? Or were you testing again, or like because this whole week's been hectic for you?
Yeah, it's been crazy. So I flew down to Sydney on Tuesday. So we had heaps of media stuff to do before the week. But then, so we did the race weekend. Then Monday we had sponsor rides all day.
Yeah.
Then
that's when you got to take your old boy for a lap.
That was on Saturday night, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. But Monday was like all the team sponsors and stuff like that. Then straight to the airport, flew to Melbourne, drove to Phillip Island Monday night. And then I was testing with Prince Jeffrey on Tuesday in the Mercedes GT3. Yeah. So
how's that thing?
Around there, that's crazy. Like. Because they got so much downforce compared to what we do. So like gets sucked to the ground heaps. And that track's a fast track. So like
so sick.
Turn 1's like big balls.
Yeah.
Like it like sticks so well. But
how fast are you going down the straight?
They're not that quick down the straight. I'd probably
because they've got so much downforce.
Yeah, probably 260.
Okay.
But then turn 1, you don't brake. You just lift and straight back to the gas. Like it's crazy. It was cool, really cool. But he's racing with Shane next weekend in round 1 of the GT Championship. So Shane's rallying at the moment. Well, was rallying. So
he's a legend,
I had to go and drive that for him.
That's so sick. So yeah, I think 260 was the fastest I went down that straight.
Yeah.
I was on a Street Fighter V4.
Yeah.
And it's got no fairings. It's naked.
Yeah.
And dude, I was hanging on
That's
like
crazy.
Dude, I was trying to tuck my head under the little heads up display because there's no windshield. There's no real fairings on this thing. And I come out of the last turn.
Yeah.
And I looked down at my speedo as I was kind of exiting the turn, and I was already over 200.
Yeah, it's great.
And I was like, I think the fastest I went I was riding a Panigale V2, like the race one.
Yeah.
But it's a smaller motor. And I think the fastest I did on that was like 245, 250.
Yeah.
And then when I saw how fast I was going on this thing out of the corner, because it's like a bigger motor, I was like, fuck, I just got to do one speed run.
Yeah, it's hard to flatten the one.
Dude, at 260, I was like stretching out. I was like, fuck, I'm backing out of this. But I could not commit to turn 1. Like, it is
I couldn't imagine it on a bike.
Turn 2 is amazing.
Yeah.
Like you just drop down and you're sliding the whole way around that. And then turn 3 is super gnarly.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, turn one, I was just completely mind blown, couldn't figure it out, and wanted nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Man, I want to ride road bike so bad.
You've never got to, eh?
No, I had to go on like Ollie's years ago at just like a pimp mart, just rode, like cruised around.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to ride road bike so bad.
I think that it's definitely safer than what people think.
Yeah, the thing that I've been sort of looking at, maybe I could do in my off season, is you seen the rivalries?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm like pretty keen to try and have a go on one of those, and at least I can practice a bit of road bike. I know it's very different, but at least figure out like what it's a bit about, and I think that'd be cool. A bit slower, but yeah, eventually I want to start trying to do a bit of road stuff.
We should try and get one for Norwell.
Yeah,
because it's Wayne Maxwell's the guy that does it.
Yeah, I know, and even like I've been up with Seth Crump at Ipswich when they do their track days there, Supermoto days, and a few people have got Ovalis there and stuff like that, and the Kato. There's another little Chinese one as well that they do up there, like just people buy and take up there, but keen as.
Dude, it's been crazy for me. I never even really saw myself doing it.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that I thought I'd ever kind of get into, but then when I did like the Ducati ambassador thing last year.
Yeah.
Just the doors were opened. Crazy, and man, I love it, eh? It's so much fun. There's just a lot to learn too, and I guess it just kind of fits into my personality, but I love getting
learning stuff,
deeper into and learning stuff. But yeah, I couldn't believe how fun it was, and the first time I did a track was Norwell. I went there for that for the like a Ducati shoot that we did, and I was really nervous, like really nervous, and I was really scared to do it, but in the end, like, I've way safer than I thought. And then I did another track day with my mate Jake, and I rode one of his 600s. Again, I was super nervous for it, but it was fine.
Awesome.
Again. And then same at Phillip Island, and so I think it's a lot safer than people think, especially if you've got like a newer bike like a Ducati or something that's got the electronics and stuff like that. You really kind of can't fuck it up.
Yeah, you just got to be smart about it, don't you?
Just
like,
be
if you go
smart
out
and
and
safe.
try and be stupid, you're going to have a crash, but yeah, no, it looks sick. Like, I got so many mates riding like Setho's over in the UK running BSB and stuff like that. Like, just, yeah, I'm a motorbike kid.
Yeah, well, dude, SVG, he's full moto.
Yeah.
He's loving it. He actually rides really good too.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard
Like,
he goes pretty hard.
Real good.
Yeah.
Very surprising. I thought that when we rode that he just wouldn't be as fast as what he is.
Yeah.
Just because it's not something that he's done that much of, and the risk of getting injured or whatever. But man, he just fucking rides awesome, and like he goes at a real fast pace without being sketchy, you know? Like, it's not like he has to go real slow to stay within a comfort zone. Like, his comfort zone is actually
fast,
ripping pretty solid.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's
so
very cool.
I think as your career goes on, you'll probably
start doing a bit more of this stuff. It's hard. Like, first year, I'm not gonna this year's gonna be supercars for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be going and go mountain biking like SVG, but or dirt bike riding or going to the snow or stuff like that. It's gonna be focus on my stuff, and I suppose once you get settled in a little bit more into the series and probably a bit more mature, that's when I can start doing some other stuff a little bit as well.
And the thing is, right now you're not going to need a break.
No, it's going to be
keen.
It's going to be busy. Like, honestly, I got a week and a half, then I go to Tassie.
Yeah.
So it's busy for me. It's good.
But a guy like Shane or J-Dub, they get to the end of their career, not the end of their career, but they're like really settled into their career, and it's like you want some time away. Some time away is actually going to help you. And Danny Rick's in the same sort of boat. Like, he goes and does his thing and enjoys some time where he's not thinking about it. And then it actually becomes like a net positive. Whereas for you right now, you spend your off season fucking around. Like, you don't really need that break at this stage of your career, and it's probably not going to help you,
Yeah, nah, like, my focus is racing cars at the moment, and that's what interests me. So whatever I got to do to be better at that's my breaks. So it's just working towards that.
So you reckon you can get a win this year?
Yeah, for sure.
Fuck yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Have you got any events that obviously you've been to all the tracks?
Most of them. I haven't been to 3.
Okay, what ones haven't you been to?
Haven't been to Tassie, which is our next round.
Yeah.
Haven't been to Perth, but I want to try and get there before the round, and I haven't been to Pukekohe in NZ, which I want to try and get there as well. So there's a couple of things that I can try and do. I want to there's some cars that I can probably drive at Perth, and I want to go to NZ and do a bit of driving over there.
Yeah. So what are the rounds if you had to sit here now and be like, righto, this one I'm going to have a crack at winning, this one I'm going to have a crack at winning. Have you got any in your mind that you think like I can go here and do well?
Obviously every weekend you want to do as best as you can, but I think a track where I can do really well is Townsville. Obviously I had a really good year there last year, and the Triple Eight cars work really well there. So, Shane and Jamie smashed it there last year. Really comfortable with that track, but yeah, there's a few rounds I'm not underestimating any round. I want to go in and try and I'm not going to be stupid and say I'm going to go to Tassie and try and sweep the round. I'm going to try and improve on what I've done, but I'd like to say by Townsville, hopefully I'm getting a bit more up to speed with it. It's sort of middle of the year, and Bathurst though, that's the one I want to win.
Yeah, right.
That'll be pretty cool.
Debut Bathurst win. That might shut up the haters.
Yeah, I mean, anyone can win Bathurst, but we had good pace there last year, but we'll wait and see. We've come out of round one. Chaz is the leader in the championship.
He goes all right at Bathurst.
Yeah, they're quick at Bathurst, and they've carried some form over. So, to be honest, I think this year's a bit more shaken up than what everyone thinks.
Yeah. What I meant to ask you before about the top 10 shootout.
Yeah.
Was that a pretty cool experience?
That is insane.
Really?
That's really cool. The first day, I qualified 10th and I finished 10th in the shootout. It was pretty average, but just driving onto the straight, the warm-up lap's not bad, but when you come out of the last corner, I'm like every single person in everyone's watching me. Yeah. That's it. No one's watching anyone else for this one lap. That is cool. I was speaking to Anton after, and he's like, it's pretty cool, isn't it? I'm like, yeah, mate, it was awesome. He's like, wait till you get to Bathurst and do one or something like that. But that's sick. You get one lap to do it. Everyone's watching. Any mistake you make, everyone's going to be critical of, because it's a shootout sort of thing. So for my first time to get 2 under my belt, I think Garth Tander said to me I'm the only person since Scotty Mack to make my first 2 shootouts. So
wow,
that was pretty cool to do, and just hopefully we keep making more and keep moving up.
So on the second shootout, you got fourth in that one.
Yeah.
What was that lap like? It
was okay.
Really?
The conditions changed throughout the session. It got a bit drier, and then Anton got a bit more wet at the end. Chaz got a bit wet at the end. But yeah, it was an alright lap. For my first shootouts, I was happy with them. There's so many things I need to do better, but it's just understanding. My first shootout, I made a couple of stupid mistakes and stuff like that, but just keep doing them. You know what I mean? I just want to be in that top 10 and keep doing shootouts. These guys have been done 50, above 50 sort of shootouts. I've done 2.
So you've got to approach it a different way? There's a real specific way to try and get a lap like that done? Yeah,
it's just balls to the wall. It's this big send sort of thing. In qualifying, you still only really get 1 lap on your tyres. So it's still your 1 lap thing, but you normally get 2 runs.
Yeah.
So when you go to the shootout, it's okay, this is it. You got to... And you're trying to, it's like everything, you're trying to push to 100% limit. If you go 1% over, you stuff up, you start P10. If you go 1% less, you start P5 sort of thing. So it was just a cool feeling for me to get out of the car, be P4. I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, because there's been some V8 races that I've been at. Scotty Mack was just laying it down. Yeah. And there's, you see how close the boys are getting to the wall on some of the circuits, and it is just a complete send fest, and it's so impressive to watch. I guess you're sending it in the race, but it's just a different level. And then when you get to have just that visual of the one car doing its thing, and just absolutely going for it.
It is, honestly, it's so cool. That was my highlight of the weekend, probably being in the shootouts. But you don't care about the tires, your minimum fuel, you're just having a dip sort of thing. But I was sort of thinking about a couple of weeks ago, it'd be cool to see some other sports do something like that.
Bro, 100%.
Even if, do they do Monster Energy Cup anymore or not?
Griff, do they do Monster Cup anymore? They haven't done it in a couple of years.
It'd be cool to
since
see
COVID.
imagine if Supercross did a
Well,
shootout.
Geneva, they do it. Or they do it at Paris, Bercy. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
okay.
they've done it at OzX. Yeah, it's sick, man. Like, the boys absolutely go for it.
Yeah,
eh?
I mean, like, it'd be cool to see some other stuff in the other sports. And
See if you can go to Tim Geyser, Bercy lap. Dude, some of the Euro boys at Bercy just absolutely send it on the Supercross. I think they call it like Superpole or something like that.
you know, it would also be sick. You know how we do like co-drives at like Bathurst and stuff like
Yeah.
that? Imagine if they did that in F1.
What? How?
Like, did like a one-off race.
Yeah.
And you reserve drivers, your co-driver.
That would be pretty sick. Like an enduro spec
Anyone
type
could
thing.
win.
Yeah,
You
true,
did like
eh?
a 2 times race distance.
Yeah.
And then like, imagine that.
It would be.
Yeah, another 20 drivers on the grid that have very little experience. Like, the
Anything could
slowest
happen.
car on the grid could win.
Can you imagine how much money that would cost the teams in
I
damages?
know, but that's like, I watch NASCAR and stuff like that in the States. Like, they do sick stuff. Like, they race at the LA Coliseum.
Yeah.
They build a track in a Coliseum.
They do way more novelty
They put
kind of
dirt
stuff.
on
Yeah.
Bristol. Like, they just do stuff that no one thinks about. And that's
Yeah.
something that I think, like, we're certainly not NASCAR's its own thing. Like, they do weird stuff. But I think that's something where everyone in the world can learn from, is just doing something different and it works.
Yeah. Well, and you're right. Like, Bathurst is the best example of that because you've got, you know, it's not like they're second-rate drivers, but they're not guys that are in the series. They're not
they race
super familiar with
once
the
or twice
cars.
a year.
Yeah. And then you go into like the craziest track, like a long endurance race, super prestigious.
Yeah.
Does create crazy drama.
Yeah, it is. I just think, like, different stuff's always good.
Yeah, I'm
Mixing
with
it
you.
up.
Just go Geyser Bercy Supercross. Bercy Supercross.
Oh, one thing. What's to go with this new Supercross thing? The World Championship?
I actually don't know. I'm going to have Sando and Bailey on the
Yeah,
podcast
okay.
next week because
Yeah.
I actually don't know that
confusing.
much about it. Go. Yeah, just type it into YouTube and just put Superpole, I think. Yeah, I don't know much about it, but
Confusing, hey? Because this year it's not a World Championship, the AMA.
yeah, no, it's just a couple of, I think it's only like a few rounds this year.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it, man. I'm fucking keen to travel.
Oh,
Here you
here we
go.
go.
Bang. Watch
Good.
Sendfest.
So this is Shootout?
Yeah. Like,
Look at the
watch
scrub.
this motherfucker lay it down. I'll try to turn it up a bit. Oh, this sounds fucked. But like, yeah, you
Yeah,
can
they're just having a full swing.
fully laying it down, dude. And the crowd's got, look at the scrubs on the guy. Absolute wild man. I forgot he was sponsored by Monster a bit ago. So this was 2017.
Yeah, this is sick, isn't it, though?
Oh, and the
Like, imagine
crowd
me
is
to-
losing it, dude.
Imagine, like, top 10 Shootout in 450s or something.
Oh, the
like-
boys would lay it down. Oh. Yeah.
That is sick.
Fully having a go. But I mean, this is what you guys are doing.
I know. But this is just cooler.
Yeah, I guess it just looks rad.
Yeah.
So, is it the same in a car where, like, let's say you've got this lap where it's just like one lap absolutely wedged?
4%, yeah.
Are you, and does the technique kind of go out the window, and then that's what can cost you the time? Because you look at Jet, right, and it's like perfect technique, but he's going full speed.
He'd be good in a Shootout.
So is it the same in a car where it's like, this is the technique of how you drive a car properly, in terms of like gear changes and
Yeah.
the clutch and brake and all of the fundamentals, and it's like the balance is trying to keep those fundamentals techniques working correctly while you're also pushing the limit 100%.
Yeah, you can't just send it and like smash down the gears and think it's going to work. So it's about doing all the same stuff you're doing, but just executing the best lap possible. Obviously, I've only done 2, so not the best person to talk about it. But yeah, it's Jet would be the perfect example of a Shootout. You know what I mean? He looks smooth as, hits his marks, but it's just going that extra couple of meters in the brakes, getting on the gas a little bit earlier. But yeah, like you watch a Shootout around Bathurst, like Scotty Mack's lap, like did 203, even Chaz's last year. Every pole lap at the Bathurst 1000, you watch that and you're like, they're gonna have a crash. Like it's ballsy.
just on the edge.
Especially Bathurst. Like, Bathurst is out of control, let alone like trying to get pole position in a shootout.
It's pretty wild.
I just like, obviously, hopefully we get the top 10 shootout this year up there, but like even qualifying last year, it's a crazy joint. Yeah. Every time you come down the mountain, you're like, mate,
really?
It's proper.
So yeah, I'm staring at the barrel of a 12-hour. So
are you thinking about doing it? Are you?
Yeah, I want to do it with Danny Rick.
I'm doing it this year.
The 12-hour.
Yeah.
That's sick. I might try and come to it just to watch. When is it?
May like 12 to 14 or something like that.
I might be away. I said to Danny, I was like, first year you retire, let's do 12-hour. But I've never driven a car, like never raced. It's a big ass.
It is a pretty big ass.
I got like 3 years probably to do it.
I don't know. You tell me. You're his mate.
Well, no, I don't know. I reckon maybe 3-4 years. I don't know when he's going to retire actually, but I'm guessing I've got a few years. That's what I'll say to try and figure it out.
Yeah. What do you reckon about the new cars? Do you like them?
I do like the new cars.
They do look cool, don't they?
I like the fact that the McLaren's super fast.
Well, are they?
I reckon.
Maybe Chase has got some secret info here.
I reckon they're fast.
No, it's hard to read into testing.
It is hard, but they did look good.
Yeah, they were there. I think, last day, Mercedes and Red Bull were still quickest, but it's so hard to know.
Yeah.
It'd be cool to see. I'm so excited. I'm racing at the Grand Prix, like our third round of the championships at Formula One. So I'm like keen as just to go there as a fan, basically, let alone race. It's going to be awesome.
Have you watched the F1 before?
Been once. In 2014, I went to Australia, and me and Jack actually did an exhibition lap in our go-kart.
Oh, really?
So everyone's like, oh, you drove the Grand Prix second? I'm like, yeah, I've done one lap. It was like a 4-minute lap time, but yeah, I've done one lap.
That's so sick.
So I'm keen. Like, hopefully I get to meet a few of the boys and stuff, but it'd be cool.
Yeah, dude. I can't wait for it. I was there in 2019, or was it what was the one that got cancelled? 2020?
2020.
Yeah, it was 2020. Yeah. So I was there doing the podcast for Red Bull, the F1 podcast. Yeah. And I was fucking so pumped to like meet all the boys, and then I did like interviews with Alex and Max, and then Shane and J-Dub, and then they just pulled the pin. So I was there, and there was sessions, but I've never seen an F1 car on the track.
Yeah, I'm so keen. Like, I'm just that keen to see it this year. Yeah. I think same as Australia. I'm pretty sure it's sold out.
Really?
I'm pretty sure general admission sold out, especially for race day. So, Drive to Survive working its magic, but there's a lot more people going this year, which is cool. Yeah, it's really cool. I just hope we get a big crowd there, and hopefully, a few people see the V8s for the first time as well. Yeah,
I just hope. Yeah, I mean, I'm super keen for Danny to have a good season. I just so badly hope that car's
he deserves it.
Yeah, oh man, 100%. Last year was just
he's had a rough trot.
But crazy to get a win in a season. But you were struggling so bad.
I know. I feel like that's the thing it's like you go for a game of golf. You have 17 bad holes, but you have that one good race or good hole. You keep going back. Yeah.
So I think seems like obviously early days, but I think for McLaren to be up there, I'm hoping that that'd be
a bit better. I think championship's still out of reach, but I think all they got to do is just keep closing the gap.
Yeah, just keep getting on the box, maybe get a couple wins.
Yeah, exactly. Like, man, last year, I'm so keen to see Drive to Survive, because last year was the gnarliest season ever.
It was hectic.
It was sick.
I don't know enough about like all the rules and stuff for the whole deal, but I mean, I was even watching the trailer last night for Drive to Survive, and the way that Lewis pumped Max off the track was at Silverstone. Fuck off. I'm glad Max won the title, because it's just like there was so, you can say whatever you want about that last race, but I feel like there were so many things through the season where Max just got jacked.
I mean, Lewis, I don't know if I'll get hate for this. Lewis should have won that. Like, should have won that race. The Abu Dhabi, like he was miles in front. The safety car happened. Max won. Yeah. Max 100% deserved to win the championship, though. He lost so many races by bad luck. He had a tyre failure at Azerbaijan when he was leading, taken out by Lewis at Silverstone, taken out by Bottas at Hungary. Like, there's probably 50 to 70 points that he missed out on, easy.
100%.
But if Lewis won, yeah, I think he deserved to win the race, but he didn't deserve to win the title.
I'm pretty wearing the exact same camp.
Yeah.
Because that Silverstone one to me was just bullshit. I was so over it.
Don't know if I'm on that full same page, but...
Oh, you don't reckon?
I was just hardcore racing. Like, who was on the inside? Lewis was on the inside, but he missed the apex and hit him, but yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like that's a...
You'd know
it's
better than me
hardcore,
as
but
a
that's
racer.
a racing incident. Like,
yeah.
It's hard to penalise one person.
Well, I guess that's
the worst
same.
thing is, though, Lewis went on to win the race.
Yeah.
That's like 25 points that he got by getting Max out of the race.
Well, I think that's probably more so the thing is like, just, I don't know, it felt like the way that he dealt with it and the way that it all went down. I was just like, fuck this, I'm out on this now.
Yeah.
I fully want Max to win.
Yeah. It's cool to see a new world champion and running the number one. Like, I'm sick of people running the same number. I want to see number one out there.
It should be mandatory.
Yeah.
I reckon.
I don't know. I feel like it should be their choice. I just don't know why people don't run number one.
Yeah.
I feel like they're so sold to their number and like...
But you could still run your number on your helmet.
Yeah, I know.
Like there's a way, I reckon there's a way to do it.
I feel like
number
the only
one,
person
baby.
that I know is like their number's so strong to them that's been world champ. Like obviously Valley, but like Marquez is like... massive Marquez fan, but he's like 93.
Yeah.
I feel like if he went number one, like his brand's pretty big with 93 sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I feel like when Mir won, I feel like he could have gone. I suppose people get so connected to their number, but I'd 100% run number one.
But I feel like run it on your bike or your
run
car,
it on your year,
and then just run everything else. Like keep your own branding. It's not like you have to be a ghost. Like
Casey did it.
Run
a little 27 in the number.
Yeah. I think there's ways to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
So you're saying when you win the championship, you'll run a number one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Love it.
Hopefully one day, yeah.
So you'll get me out at Norwell, you reckon? Give me some tips.
Yeah, we've been talking about doing it, haven't we, for a while now? So it'll have to happen. If the 12 hours happening, you're gonna need to come out a lot.
Yeah, well, so that's the thing. So I said to Danny, I was like, righto, I want to do it. I reckon it'd be super fucking fun. He's always said that he wanted to do it. He's like, I'll definitely be on good terms with McLaren. We can definitely get the car. And it's funny, some things have unfolded since we like kind of threw it out there. So Jam Motorsports at the Bend.
Yeah.
They've got
drive on you.
Hey, yeah, they've got some cars out there and they hit me up. They're like, you can come out and drive a GT3 car. So I'll get the Bend on the sim and I'll ask them which configuration it is and I'll get in the sim. But yeah, just get out to Norwell, do some driving. You know, I'll buy a little shitty car if that's what it takes.
Get an XL, mate.
Yeah, get an
Gypsy
XL.
Gang Racing.
I'd be sick to do. I wonder if there's like a team that you could get in and just do like one of those 86 races or something.
I feel like if you're a novice, like 86 is probably a bit too serious.
Is it too full on?
Yeah, it's like the kids are quick.
Yeah.
Kids are real quick. Honestly, like I remember us talking once. There's like $1,000. There's a 24 hours of lemons.
Yeah,
it's like
right.
a 24-hour race, and your car can't be worth more than $1,000
That's
before
my
you put the
price
safety
range. Yeah.
before you put the safety equipment in. I feel like that'd be a
That's the
sick
one.
race, you guys. Or if you did like, even if you did a bit of XL stuff, like XL's like beginner stuff. It's cool, but the 24-hour lemons.
That's the
I'd
move.
drive with you, mate. That'd be cool.
That'd be pretty sick. Yeah, we should definitely do it. We'll get Sammy in it as well.
Yeah, that's cool. That's just like I just a race for people who just want to go race. 24 hours.
Yeah, I'm there. We like doing dumb shit. Me and
it'd be
Sammy
cool.
driving a Manji. I think that's the funnest thing is just like you kind of get these really out there ambitious goals. But like I just said to Danny, I was like, look, basically you do all the good driving. I'll just try not
Is
to
he
put it
gonna
in the
want you
wall.
in there?
Yeah, I don't think he cares. I think he's just down for a good time.
Yeah.
We just got to figure out a third driver. There's a few options on the table. So yeah, just
that, mate.
just get out
Bathurst
there.
12-hour champ.
Could happen.
Trophy would look good in here.
It would look good in here. There's a couple. There's a 125 cup.
Yeah.
There's a day in the dirt.
Oh, you got his wine all
Yeah,
good?
I got the wine there. I'm saving that for I don't know who.
Good day.
Hey?
For a good day.
Yeah, save that for a good day. Maybe when the great man's in here.
Cool.
Well, mate, thanks for coming in.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me on. It's good to be on.
Yeah, no, I figure we've talked about it for a bit, but I figure this is the weekend.
Good time to do it.
Yeah, you come in, you killed it. Everyone's real proud of you. We're all super stoked for you, mate.
Thank you.
Excited to have another dog in the fight. You know.
Yeah, that's good.
The boys will be cheering you on. It'd be cool to get to some races as well.
Yeah, no, it'd be good.
Part of the fan club.
No, it'd be sick.
Anything else worth talking about that you got coming up or?
Who's going to win the Supercross Championship? The real question.
Ooh, It'd be pretty hard to bet against Eli at this
Eli's
point, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I would love to see Ando win it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm an Eli fan, so.
Are you're full Tomac?
Tomac and I've been Tomac since like 2015, 2016.
Okay.
And as soon as Sexton came in, I'm a massive fan of him because he's like, I feel like he's sort of in my shoes.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Yeah.
So basically, you're gonna make Giz retire. Is that what you're saying?
I think Giz is a bit more hardcore than Kenny.
So basically what you're saying is you think you're Chase Sexton because you're going to come in and in your second year you're going to be the guy that makes Giz retire from racing.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Hectic.
That's not what I'm saying.
That is hectic. That's exactly what you just said.
Mate, he's a rookie.
Mate,
he's a rookie.
Speed Cafe is going to have an absolute field day with that one. Fuck, his intentions are set.
Clickbait for sure.
Gotta do it. All right, well, appreciate it, mate.
Thanks for having me. It's been good.
Yeah, we'll definitely, like, even Sam will say, he's like, get Feeney in now, first ever rookie,
Yeah.
and then we'll get him back in when he wins the championship. I feel like it's going to happen. But yeah, you got to open invite whenever you want, and any Sunday that you're around.
Yeah, Supercross. I'm keen as.
Did you had COVID the day or something? Were you sick?
Nah, I was at home.
Why didn't you come in the day that Jack was in here?
I had a couple of mates over, and I was like, I got the message, and it was sort of like, I was like, oh, I'm ready to go, and then it was like, oh yeah, we'll do it another time. I'm like, oh, okay.
Was that on my end?
It was a bit up in the air. I feel like if I rocked up, oh no, you said you didn't have another mic or something.
Oh, that's what it was.
You had 3 people, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's getting kicked out.
Yeah, right, fair. And then Jack's leaving, you're here forever.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
How's Jack going to go this year?
I hope good.
Yeah.
I hope good. He's really happy being with Alpine. I've been speaking to him quite a lot this year.
Yeah.
He's really happy where he is. So he obviously left the Red Bull Academy end of last year, and he's gone to Alpine. He's loving that. He said they're putting a big effort into him. So yeah, I think he just had finished testing. Same sort of thing though. I haven't spoken to him about it, but it's hard to read into F2 testing. But he's in a good team. He's got good people around him, good academy. So yeah, I think the recipe's there for a good year for him.
Do you think that, sorry to go back a bit, do you think that you've kind of done almost like the Red Bull Academy thing to like a real small scale, like here in Oz? Like, do you think that that's sort of something that people are going to maybe try and sort of start to do? And because you see in a lot of forms of racing, you'll have like one real experienced driver and then one young kid that they've kind of pulled up through the ranks. Like, you're kind of the first Red Bull Academy style driver.
Yeah, especially in Australia. And it was cool last year. Like, I was an athlete, but I wasn't an athlete. Like, now I'm a Red Bull signed athlete. But yeah, Red Bull sponsored my car last year, sort of thing. And the dream was sold to, because obviously you have to convince Red Bull.
Yeah.
Roland had to convince Red Bull to take me on. So he sort of put to them, I was like the max, the young kid that's coming through. So, Groves has started a junior team, so they're a supercar team in Australia, Grove Racing. They've started an academy.
Yeah,
they've got a couple of kids that they're pushing up to be in supercars. So yeah, that's what sort of something I mentioned on earlier, like the VR46 Academy. One day I'd like to have my own thing where I, hopefully try and help some kids come through. Is
there some real good talent in Australia right now that you could see some more 18-year-olds? Like, how many more 18-year-olds do you think we could see in the series in the next couple of years?
Yeah, like 18s, yeah, it's pretty, like, even myself, it's pretty young. But there is definitely some standouts, like, no doubt about it. There's some standouts, but it's just how they progress over the next couple of years. But I got no doubt there'll be some, 19, 20-year-olds on the grid soon. And it's, to be honest, it's all guys that go through Morris.
Yeah,
it's all guys that hang out there are doing a really good job. But I feel like Paul's got his sort of something happening there, and he's there's something in the water and all. Well, like the kids are turning out quick.
Really?
Yeah. So hopefully one day there'll be a BF88 or BF93 Academy.
Yeah. Hey, I can see it happening. All right, brother. Well, best of luck in Tassie.
Thanks, mate.
And we'll talk to you very soon.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Cheers, mate. If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.